Okay. The U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify the swastika, an emblem of fascism and white supremacy, inextricably linked to the murder of millions of Jews, and that more than 400,000 U.S. troops died fighting against in World War II as a hate symbol, according to a new policy that takes effect next month. Instead, the Coast Guard will classify the Nazi era insignia as potentially divisive under its new guidelines. I mean, it was also a symbol of peace. So, just saying, libs.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi. What up?
I brought a very special guest with me today, as you can see, Secretary McMahon. So I will begin my remarks. She's going to speak, and then we'll take some questions. She'll take questions, and I'll take questions from you as well. First off, yesterday, First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance traveled to Marine Corps Air Station New River in Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, where they spent the day meeting with students, educators, military families, and United States Marines. Both the First Lady and Second Lady were grateful for the warm welcome and remain deeply committed to supporting military families and the communities that serve our great nation. May God bless all of them. In economic news, the September jobs report showed the American economy remains strong, with 119,000 new jobs added, more than double expectations. These gains came after the summer passage of President Trump's historic tax cuts and multiple big trade deals with countries around the world. In particular, construction jobs surged by 19,000 in September, the largest monthly gain in a year.
Wow.
Nearly all of this solid monthly job growth.
I mean, why would you? The largest monthly gain in a year. That's not really that impressive if you think about it, but okay.
Came from the private sector and went to Americans rather than foreign-born workers.
Wow.
The opposite of what we saw under the previous administration.
Wow.
Inflation also remains under control, and wages are up by 3.8% over the year for American workers because of President Trump's pro-growth policies. In fact, real wages are on pace to increase roughly $1,200 for the average worker this year under President Trump.
Wow.
This is a complete reversal of the failed Biden era when we saw inflation skyrocket to 9%, causing private sector workers to see their wages decline by approximately $3,000.
Wow.
We know that Americans are still hurting from the 4-decade high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats. But President Trump is making significant progress to fix this, and he will not stop working until he solves it. As the president recently stated, he is never satisfied. For example, President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more affordable this year. From their commute...
I need to change my laundry. Putting on a speaker. Hold on one second.
To the dinner table. Nearly 100 million Americans are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holiday. And thanks to President Trump's drill baby drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021. President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost less this year than it did last year and is down about 5% overall. The average price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families in their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. That's why he signed the largest middle tax cuts in history into law, from no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, to no tax on Social Security. And according to a new study from Piper Sandler, which is out this week, tax filers can expect an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year and what could be a record-breaking tax refund season. So there is more good news to come. We know these refunds will make a huge difference for Americans to help pay down their bills and use towards life's expenses. In other news this week, President Trump took a significant step toward delivering on a core campaign promise to finally close the Department of Education. To shrink the bloated federal bureaucracy, the Department of Education just entered into new interagency agreements with 4 agencies: the Departments of Labor, Interior, Health and Human Services, and State. These agencies will now ensure the delivery of legally required programs while also refocusing them to better serve students. This common sense action brings the Trump administration much closer to finally returning education where it belongs, at the state and local level, not in Washington, D.C. The Democrats' reckless 43-day government shutdown did manage to do one valuable thing. It proved that America does not need a federal Department of Education. During the longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever. Schools stayed fully open across the country. Students attended class and received normal in-person instruction, and our wonderful teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families do not need the Department of Education. Since its creation in 1979 during the Carter administration, the Department of Ed has spent over $3 trillion taxpayer dollars without improving student achievement. Despite peer pupil spending having increased by more than 245% since the 1970s, math and reading scores are down in public schools. In fact, the most recent Nation's Report Card from 2024 showed that 13-year-olds' math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, and their reading scores are the lowest since testing began more than 30 years ago. It's clear that throwing more money at a broken system does not work, and that's why President Trump appointed the amazing leader behind me, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who is making these monumental changes at the direction of the president. We're very grateful to have you here today to talk about these changes and then take some questions. Hopefully folks in this room will have some questions on the very important topic of education. So please, Mrs. Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Caroline. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today, and thank all of you for being here as well. My purpose here is to speak directly to the American families, not just you, but to the American families, about the work this administration is doing in education to reverse our national decline with a hard reset of our educational system. That reset was a top campaign promise from President Trump to send education back to the states and end Washington's micromanagement of education once and for all. This week we took the most decisive steps thus far to make good on this promise to you. We have linked 6 groundbreaking partnerships with other federal agencies to delegate education department programs that are redundant with existing programs at Labor, State, Interior, and HHS. These interagency agreements to cut our own bureaucratic bloat are a key step in our efforts to shift educational authority from Washington, D.C. to your state education agency, your local superintendent, your local school board.
Just as a couple things, this is very funny, is that one, they talk about how like the Department of Education hasn't helped at all in the past, 40 years, but college education attainment rates have gone up. And then they point to the fact that, our math and reading scores and everything are lower than they've ever been. And it's like, yeah, those are because of K through 12. That's education that's dealt with by the states. The federal government doesn't dictate that curriculum.
Entities that are accountable to you, and we encourage parents to always be involved. Cutting federal bureaucracy is never a popular move among D.C. insiders. A chorus of anti-Trump voices have come out of the woodwork to complain that we are defunding education, harming students, or acting without a plan. This could not be further from the truth. The majority of Americans across the country handed to President Trump the popular vote precisely because they have seen the brokenness of a top-down education system run by the federal government. They're painfully aware that only 3 out of 10 students can read proficiently at their grade level. They know that college students are collectively $1.7 trillion in debt, and less than half of college graduates get a job that actually uses the degree which they studied so hard to get. They see more teachers than ever before leaving the profession due to burnout, over-regulation, and lack of autonomy in the classroom. Anti-Trump voices are stirring up fear that returning education to the states is a draconian action. When Americans hear that we are shutting down the department, but given no other details, 51% oppose it. But when those same Americans are informed of our plans to preserve important elements of our work in other federal agencies and to maintain the K-12 funding that is distributed to the states, that number flips to an even greater majority at 56%. And they support returning education to the states and breaking up the bureaucracy. That's because the Department of Education is a pass-through entity. It doesn't educate a single student.
Then how is it controlling the curriculum? I love all of the contradictory things. So if it's a pass-through entity and it doesn't dictate curriculum, then why is it responsible for children's math scores and science?
The money it sends to states for education can be sent directly without waste. The Democrats' government shutdown proved that without a doubt, and I'll reiterate what you said, that the Department of Education was not necessary during the shutdown. Now, this is what I've seen already on my 50-state tour that I've embarked on. Educators are innovating in their schools. States are customizing their budgets and standards, and post-secondary institutions are planning for the economy of the future. But we're not leading them. They are informing us. That's why our final mission as a department is to fully empower states to carry the torch of our educational renaissance. Education is local. It should be overseen locally by those who best know local needs.
It already is.
We're not ending federal support for education. We are ending federal micromanagement and paving the way for education renewal through state reforms like school choice, the science of reading, and restoring the right priorities in higher education. President Trump promised to send education back to the states, and we're keeping that promise. America's next generation will look back on the work we've carried out, thankful for an education system that prioritizes students over bureaucracy. Thank you.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Madam Secretary. And we'll take some questions for the Secretary if you have them. Elizabeth, why don't you start?
Thank you for joining us. You announced the partnership to move some functions of the Education Department to other agencies. Are you talking to members of Congress about codifying this so that it lasts beyond the administration?
Yes, we started our conversation, and thanks very much for asking that, because there have been some reports that Congress is in the dark on this. That's clearly not true. We've been talking to, I've talked to dozens of members of Congress to explain to them exactly what we're doing, to bring them up to speed, and to say to them, look, when we have completed some of these transfers that are working incredibly well, then we will be looking to Congress to codify those, to make them permanent.
Brian.
Thank you. Secretary McMahon, what is the update on the negotiations with Harvard? I know the president has publicly pointed to you as somebody who's worked on that. I think you've talked about that at length, but I'd like to understand where are things with those negotiations with Harvard this time?
They're ongoing negotiations, and I feel very comfortable that we are getting close to having those negotiations finalized. It's been open door conversation all along.
Wow.
Deanna?
Hello, Mrs. Secretary. The President recently posted about establishing a federal standard for AI. Do you know if the administration has a view on the use of AI for students in schools? And Caroline, do you know if the President personally uses AI?
I don't think so.
You can handle
I've
that
never
one.
witnessed it, so I can't
Oh, so who's posting all the shit on his
attest
account?
to that.
Well, I do think AI is going to need guardrails, but I have witnessed AI firsthand. I was at the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, and the first 2 hours of every day in that school, students are learning through AI. They have their headsets on, they're in front of their screens, and the AI is really acting as like an individual tutor for those students.
What?
I don't think so.
You're going to need guardrails, but I have witnessed AI firsthand. I was at the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, and the first 2 hours of every day in that school, students are learning through AI. They have their headsets on, they're in front of their screens, and the AI is really acting as like an individual tutor for those students, allowing those students that can progress faster to do that. Those who need a little catch up, it refeeds information to them. And so after those 2 hours of learning, the basics of what they're doing in their curriculum that day, then they spend the rest of the day, they have good recess and all of that time, but then they spend the rest of the day in what are called life skills, and they're actually using the information that they've learned this morning. So I've seen some AI in action that is really proving quite beneficial.
Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary McMahon, as the Education Department continues to pare down, can you talk about taxpayer services like charter school grants and how the department will continue to assist kids with special needs?
Well, we are going to make sure that there's no interruption in getting that grant money out the door. I mean, that money is it comes from Congress. It's appropriated by Congress, and we legally are obligated to do that. And the transitions we're starting to make, our first programs that went over to the Department of Labor, that was a few weeks ago. We actually signed the first interagency agreement, which we accomplished under the authority of the Economy Act. We transferred grants for WIOA and for the Perkins Act. And the really good news is that the Department of Labor has a much more sophisticated system, technology system and grant fulfilling system than the Department of Education does. As a matter of fact, our executive manager that went over with that group over to Labor said he would compare what the labor system is to education's like held together by bubble gum that is not connected to any other part. So we were able to get those grants out the door more smoothly, and states have actually better access for those systems than they do at the Department of Education. So that's a real bonus.
Take a couple more. Carrie, go ahead.
As far as the diversity, equity, and inclusion new regulations that came out from the administrations, a lot of schools, whether high school or even higher education is concerned, some of them are defying these new administration policies, even apparently according to a new report.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Rick.
As far as there's been a new report from the administration saying that half of medical schools are defying the administration when it comes to DEI policies. What type of action will the administration take for these schools that are defying the new DEI policies?
Well, certainly the President has been very clear, and the Department of Education has taken measures to make sure that as schools are developing, their policies, or if they have open DEI offices, they're closed, or DEI
Thank God.
regulations and
Thank
rules
you.
are stripped, from their programs, and so that will continue.
Great. We'll take one more. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary McMahon, my question is, since you said 3 out of 10 students are literate with regard to their reading capacity, would now the states help to improve those numbers since you have gone back to the states?
Well, what we are finding that the states that are making great progress, it's through their own innovation. It's not coming from the Department of Education. I think the Department of Education is really misunderstood about what our function is. We don't teach one student. We have nothing to do with the curriculum that are in any states. We are a pass-through.
Then how are they fucking with the education if it's just a pass-through? How do people not question this? The DOE doesn't dictate curriculum to any schools, but they're somehow responsible for students failing?
Pathway from money that's appropriated by Congress to get, to the states. But what we have seen in those states that have taken that initiative and they are embracing the science of reading and returning that into their school programs. Louisiana has done it. Mississippi, they call it the Mississippi Miracle, because they were like, I think, bottom or next to last in reading proficiency in Mississippi, and now they're like middle of the pack, which has been a really big jump. Florida has, Iowa has, Tennessee. So, but these are innovations that are done at the state level. This is not anything we're dictating, and that's why I'm saying returning education to the states, where they really are already leading in their education endeavors, and 90% of their budget they provide. The federal government only provides 8 to 10% of the budget for education, so let's make sure that that grant money that's coming from the federal government is getting in their hands as efficiently as possible and getting to students. We don't want teachers having to spend their time and money in regulatory compliance. There was one superintendent chief who said to me that they had done some calculation in their state, and that for every dollar that went into the classroom in a grant, 47 cents was spent in regulatory compliance. So let's get the money into the hands of our students and our teachers. Let's raise the level of education. The other thing I'll do, and I'll quickly wrap up for you, is this 50-state tour that I have embarked on. We've done about 14 states. We've shut down a little bit during the shutdown. But what I am doing is visiting different kinds of schools, grammar schools, middle schools, high schools, micro schools, private schools, charter schools, the whole gambit. And in the end, my goal will be, as we step away and fully deliver education back to the states is to provide them with a best practices toolkit of all of the things that I have seen around the country to say, hey, this is working. Check with these superintendents, check with these governors. And you know what I found a little bit is governors are a little competitive. So it's kind of nice to give some of these best practices out there. It'll work because it's already working. If we leave it with the people who are closest to the students, the president believes, as do I, the best education is that's closest to the child, and parents' involvement is critical to the success.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda.
It's a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming
All right.
today. Thanks for your great work.
Whoops.
And
Thank
she's
you all very much.
a busy lady, so we'll let her
Come
get
on.
back to work. All right. Thank you again. Well, let's get to it. You guys were so calm with her. I wish you were that calm with me. We'll kick off with our new media seat as always. Javier, why don't you start us off and then we'll get to the rest of the room. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Javier Negre. I'm from Spain. I'm the owner of the biggest media platform in Hispanic politics with brands like La Derecha Diario, Ida TV, or UH Plus, or Vicegrad in Spanish. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for supporting the new media. Also in the Hispanic community, we try to fight against medias like Telemundo, Univision, CNN, or NBC News that are spreading fake news and attacking the ICE operations. We will premiere this Sunday the Real America's Voice, the radio show, the first Hispanic show against communism and woke culture that is promoted by people like George Soros to bring communism all over the world, like happened in New York. I have two questions for you, if you don't mind. In Mexico, the young people is protesting against President Sheinbaum. They think she's doing nothing against the cartels. Sheinbaum used the police to attack them, young people, kids, girls, and she's attacking journalists like me in a country where 150 journalists have been killed in the past years. The USA legacy media is attacking President Trump for his comments about the fake news media, while they are not publishing anything about the murders of journalists in Mexico. Why do you think they stay silent about the murders of journalists in Mexico and the attacks to businessmen like Ricardo Salinas? And my second question is, Trump said he has a plan for the narco state of Venezuela. Does he have a plan for Mexico?
I'm sorry, is this his podcast? Excuse me.
Where, according to Stephen Miller, the cartels are controlling governments and territories?
Sure. Well, thank you, Javier, for the question, and thank you again for being here. We're proud to have new media voices in the briefing room. As for President Sheinbaum and the president's relationship with Mexico, I will tell you that we have seen historic strides from President Sheinbaum and her administration in Mexico when it comes to cracking down on the cartels. They have been incredibly cooperative with the president's efforts at our southern border to crack down on illegal immigration and also the illegal trafficking of drugs at the southern border. Now the president is very interested in taking additional measures against the drug cartels. He's been very clear about that. He's spoken about it, and this is a promise that he made to the American public. And so his national security team is discussing these options all of the time. And on the campaign trail, the president promised to take on the cartels. He has taken unprecedented action to do so, and he has left additional options at his disposal on the table. So those are only decisions that the president can make.
What
Thank
about
you.
the silence of the legacy media about the murders of journalists in Mexico? 150 journalists have been killed in the past years.
Yeah, well, it's certainly something I wish the media would report on more, and it's something that this administration absolutely condemns. I can't speak for the media, but I can speak for the president. That's not something he wants to see.
Wow.
Thank you. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Is there anything that Mayor-elect Mamdani could say tomorrow that would ease the president's concerns about his future leadership in New York?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president or get ahead of this meeting that we are currently working on tomorrow. As you saw, the president put out a statement tomorrow that the mayor-elect will be coming to the Oval Office, and so our teams are arranging those details. I won't get into the president's thinking on it. I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York himself.
Wow.
Nancy.
Thanks, Caroline. This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear,
What do you
does the
mean by
president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military to act.
Conspired to orchestrate. Geez, it's a video on Twitter. Chill.
duty service members to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos and it could incite violence and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. These 3 members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Alyssa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer. And notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
But the president has frequently, but Charlie, can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders.
Actually,
every single
can refuse an illegal order, which
they're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme.
Well, I think wasn't the D.C. deployment just ruled illegal? Fuck. Judge Cobb rules that the Pentagon's National Guard deployment into D.C. was illegal. However, she says stayed the effect of her order until December 11th to prevent disorder while the matter is under appeal. This is, I don't know if this is a district court or whatever, but...
Supreme Court, because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see. Phil.
Thank you. Ambassador Mike Huckabee had a meeting with Jonathan Pollard, a former U.S. citizen who was convicted and spent 3 decades in jail for selling state secrets to Israel. Did the White House know that that meeting was going to happen? Does the administration condone it?
The White House was not aware of that meeting, but the president stands by our ambassador, Mike Huckabee, and all that he's doing for the United States and Israel.
You said that the president was going to do what was right for U.S. citizens, regardless of whether they lived in blue or red states. I'm curious if there's any chance in tomorrow's meeting with Mayor-elect Mamdani that he will be able to convince the president to abandon that promise to cut off federal funding to New York City.
Look, Phil, we'll see how the meeting goes tomorrow, and I'll let the president speak for himself. Natalie.
Thank you, Caroline. What did the president mean when he called reporter piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves. And I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of his frankness. And he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration. But he also is the most transparent president in history. And he gives all of you in this room, as you all know, unprecedented access. You are in the Oval Office almost every day asking the president questions. And so I think the president being frank and open and honest to your faces, rather than hiding behind your backs, is frankly a lot more respectful than what you saw in the last administration, where you had a president who lied to your face.
Who was lied to his face about his senility. He wasn't even there.
And then didn't speak to you for weeks and hid upstairs and didn't take your questions. So I think everyone in this room should appreciate the frankness and the openness that you get from President Trump on a near daily basis.
And
Go ahead.
Caroline,
Yes.
The Washington Post just reported that the Coast Guard has...
I'm calling on Bloomberg. Go ahead.
Caroline, thank you. 2 questions for you. The New York Times is reporting that the administration is now sending a U.S. official to the G20. They're sending Mark Dillard. Can you confirm if that is true and also explain the shift in...
I'd be happy to explain, because there is not a shift. The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will be the host of the G20. They are receiving that send-off at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
On Ukraine, there have been reports that President Zelensky said, he's looking to look at the plan, that there's been reports about the Trump administration proposing a plan. Can you just give an update on where Russia-Ukraine stands, and does the president plan to speak with Zelensky anytime soon, or when can you expect that?
So I'm happy to provide an update. I've seen quite a bit of reporting on the latest with Russia-Ukraine, so let me clarify and give you guys the truth on where it currently stands. President Trump has made it very clear since day one, and even on the campaign trail, that he wants to see this war come to an end.
Wow,
He's grown increasingly frustrated with both sides of this war, Russia and Ukraine alike, for their refusal to commit to a peace agreement. But nevertheless, the president and his national security team are steadfast in seeing this war come to an end, to end the killing and deliver on the president's promise. U.S.
Wow.
Special Envoy Witkoff, Marco Rubio, have been working on a plan quietly for about the last month. They've been engaging with both sides, Russia and Ukraine, equally to understand what these countries would commit to in order to see a lasting and durable peace. That's how you get to a peace negotiation, right? That's how it worked with Israel, with respect to Israel and Gaza and all of the Arab countries in the Middle East. That's how we accomplished that historic agreement, which the UN, by the way, voted to commit to and accept this week, which was a huge monumental moment. So they have been engaged with both sides, and these talks are continuing. As always, I'm not going to litigate the details of this plan as it's ongoing and it's in flux, but the president supports this plan. It's a good plan for both Russia and Ukraine, and we believe that it should be acceptable to both sides, and we're working very hard to get it done.
Wow.
And I'll also add, I know Secretary Driscoll did meet with President Zelensky today. We spoke with him. He was very optimistic following that meeting, and so again, we are having good conversations with both sides with respect to ending this war. Sure, go ahead.
Follow up on Ukraine. You said this is a good plan. So according to our sources, this proposal demands major concessions from Ukraine and doesn't demand much from Russia. So was Russia involved in drafting
Your
this?
understanding is wrong. Have
Fake
you read the
news.
full plan? You haven't.
Sources say.
Yes.
Ooh, fake
I can
news.
give details, maybe
You've
if
read reporting from one side of the war, and so I want you to understand that the administration has talked equally with both sides. You have seen President Trump engage directly with both President Putin and President Zelensky. Likewise, his national security team has as well. In fact, Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio met with some of the Ukrainians just in the past week to discuss this very plan. And so just like you saw with respect to Israel and Gaza, we are hearing out both sides of this war to understand what can you commit to end the war. And that's ultimately how we are going to get to an agreeable solution. That's what the president has directed of his team. I know there's a lot of criticism out there and a lot of doubters, but I would just remind you of the historic success that this president and his team accomplished in the Middle East. We believe that is possible with Russia and Ukraine, and we're hoping and working very hard to achieve that. Stephen.
Can you provide a little more context on what to expect tomorrow with the Mamdani meeting? Will it be in the Oval Office, or is it going to be open at least partially to the press?
I don't have any more details to read out for you on the meeting quite yet, Stephen. I know it's of great interest to you and the New York Post, but we'll keep, maybe if it opens, we can commit to letting you in. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. It came up yesterday during a confirmation hearing for the president's pick to lead the CFTC that the CFTC currently has 0 Democrat commissioners, whereas usually it's had 2 or more. Does the president plan to appoint Democrats to financial regulators like the CFTC and SEC, or does the president feel that there shouldn't be Democrat leadership at those agencies, consistent with the administration's move earlier this year to remove Democrats from the FTC and other agencies?
I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't spoken to the president about the CFTC in quite some time, but I'm happy to check in with our presidential personnel office and see if there's any updates that we can provide you there. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Last week on Fox News, President Trump said that we've had a lot of problems with the French. How would you describe the current relationship between France and the U.S.?
The relationship remains very strong. President Trump speaks quite frequently with Emmanuel Macron. I think they have a good working relationship.
They don't.
But the president is not shy to point out when he has disagreements with world leaders as well. And he's done that with respect to Mr. Macron as well. Deanna, go ahead.
Caroline, there are reports that Qatar is acting as a mediator in the Ukraine peace process. Can you confirm that, and why did the president choose that country?
I'm not going to get into further details other than what I previously shared, which I think was quite a bit of information. Brian?
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. We were talking about 4 earlier in this briefing about the president's orders. You were going back and forth about what the ad said, what it said. My first question is
the
advertisement for the Senate Democrats were featured in. So the first question is, no matter what the order is, it could be to any administration official, military or otherwise, no matter if legal experts might think it's illegal, does the president expect those cabinet members, administration officials to go ahead with those orders regardless of any outside thinking?
The president expects his cabinet officials and the administration to follow the law and to demand accountability and hold people accountable for their dangerous rhetoric. And I would just add that if this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the military and members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command, this entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling. I'm going to let you all go because the president, excuse me, I appreciate the encouragement this morning, but this afternoon, but President Trump is about to meet in minutes with Israeli hostages who this administration freed, and so I'm going to go up to that meeting, and you will hear more.
Why is it muted? Police arrest grandma wearing inflatable penis costume at a protest.
Serious heart attack. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. If my kids had to come by and see this, how would you explain it to them?
Are you recording?
I am recording. I'm recording right here. I am telling you right now, if my kids had to come by and see this, I would like to hear how you would explain to my children what you're supposed to be.
A thumb. Say a thumb. Oh my God, please say a thumb.
What a pun is?
I want you.
Understand what a pun is?
Let me get another unit over here.
Oh my God, it's a cob.
I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me why.
True. Am I being detained? No. Then I'm free to go. Bye. Look at her marching those balls. Walk those nuts away. Whoa. Lady, you better get the fuck back here. Whoa.
I'm why?
Okay. I don't know if a cop has to tell you you're being detained. The cop should have to tell you if you're free to go, right? There must be some restriction around that, right? Like, otherwise it'd be like a weird game, right? Imagine a cop walks up to you, he's like, and then you're looking at him, you're like, are you okay? And he's like, and you're like, okay. And then you walk away, and then he tackles you. There's no way they can do that, right? They must have to tell you if you're, they must have to say something, no? Like, if you ask, am I free to leave? They should have to answer that, no?
I'm telling you right now. I am telling you right now. Sir. Turn over. On your belly.
Ma'am, on the vein. Balls down.
On your belly. On your belly. I told her to take it off. Give me your arm. Give me your arm. She's gonna take it off. Give me your arm.
If she was a true Giga Chad grandma, she would be butt-ass naked underneath. So when the cop was like, take that off, she's like, okay. And just fucking is, oh my God. Sorry, that's not funny. Or that she's getting assaulted, it's not funny. But
Your arm now. I need somebody. Give me your arm now.
She was walking away.
I told her to take it off.
you didn't tell her she was being detained or anything. Or that she was under arrest. Are you trying to handcuff her through the... Oh no, she's got her arm is up.
15 seconds and she was walking away.
Let me have your other arm. Thank you. This is a family town, and I'm not going to have somebody out here dressed like this. You understand? This isn't abusive. Here, back up. Here's some space. All right. You ready? All right, hold on. This way. This way. Bring your knees up. Bring your knees up. Knees up. And then you're going to sit up. Ready? Sit up. Stand up. Stand up. All right. Come on. I would hate for her grandkids to see her like this.
Her grandkid helped put that on her.
That's a shame. Come on, have a seat. Watch your step.
I can't see anything. What law did you break?
Now, I'd like for her to take this off.
I know. They can't seem to cite an ordinance. They never can. What ordinance does you
Where? There you are. Can you see me? Okay.
Now I can.
Sit back. Sit back. Now, what you're going to do...
That's as high as my butt goes.
I understand.
And it's,
Look.
it's cramping my leg.
I know. Listen to me. We're kind of having to fight this suit. So I want you to sit back. You're going to... This leg right here. You feel my leg right here?
Okay.
I want you to raise this leg until it's on mine. There you go. And then you're going to slide straight back in, okay?
Is she suing? I feel like there's so much bad stuff happening here, right? There's something called the, it's like the eggshell doctrine, I think, basically. But when you're handling another person, you have to operate under the assumption that they could have some underlying condition that could make them more fragile than an ordinary person. This is why cops aren't allowed to chokehold people, right? You could kill somebody, not because you're using excessive force, but they might have some condition that would make such a restraint like dangerous. Imagine this is an older lady. I imagine it says grandma. Imagine she starts having, breathing issues. They have to do CPR and she's like covered in this fucking costume. And they can't get out because they're like throwing her around. Like what the, I feel like there's a lot of potential liability here. Like, was the cop worried that he wasn't going to be able to catch her?
To tell me, I want me why.
Like, this is just so excessive. Even if he did have a right to detain her. Like, he didn't even answer. He didn't even try to make her stop. He didn't even say, like, excuse me, you're being detained. Excuse me, turn around. He didn't even say.
Let me get another unit over here. I want you to tell me, I want you to tell me why.
Like, she had, that was literally that was like the perfect response, I think. This is like what you want the people who want to fight with cops or whatever to do. Am I being detained? No? I'm free to go? Okay, goodbye, motherfucker. You don't talk to me, just fucking leave. She has every right to do that. She doesn't have to sit here and play 20 questions with the cop. Why are you wearing this outfit? Why? Excuse me. Am I being suspected of a crime? Am I not allowed to wear the outfit? If you're personally offended, eat shit and die, pig. You don't have to fucking sit here and quiz me on my fucking outfit. If you don't like it, go fucking post on Facebook about it. Or go talk to the rest of your loser fuck coworkers about it. You can't just say he doesn't like her outfit and then she turns around and he fucking slams her to the ground, like, without even saying anything. It's, like, insane.
Right now, if my kids had to come by and see this...
Who the fuck cares about your fucking kids?
I would like to hear how you would...
It's a dick! Do your kids not know what a dick is? Who the fuck cares? What is this, like a gratuitous, obscene... It's not like she's got fucking cum squirting out the top. Jesus.
Explain to my children what you're supposed to be.
What a pun is?
I know.
What a pun is.
Conduct.
The cop's mad because now he has to tell his children, I guess I'm only the biggest, or the second biggest dick you've seen. What a fucking loser, dude.
Now, what you're gonna do...
That's as high as my butt goes.
She's cooperating fully. She's letting him lead her around. She hasn't done anything crazy. I feel like this woman I feel like the woman have a really easy case here.
Can somebody pull me in? I can't slide because my hands are fixing to bleed from these things.
Stand up. Okay, stand straight up. I'll get her. We're gonna rock that over here. All right, come with me.
Guarantee they tried to not charge her after this. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if she got to the station or if this is a thing. I wonder if this is one of the situations. You know where sometimes you see the cop videos? Ooh, you see the Instagram reels where your friend is arguing some shit and halfway through you realize like your friend is in the wrong. You know how sometimes you see those cop videos where a cop's like, I need backup, and then like the backup shows up and you can tell the cop doesn't want to like undermine his friend in front of the other dude, but the guy's like, hey bro, we're good. We're probably good here. The cop knows like his friend is fucking up. He's like, you're out of line. You're out of pocket here, dude. I wonder if the other guy that showed up, like, what is this guy thinking? Like, bro, what are you doing?
What are the charges?
Hey, you roll that up.
What am I charging?
Hit me on what?
Got it?
Yep.
I can go to the other side. We might be able to.
Hey, I need you to get back, okay? I need you to get back, okay? I need you to get back. All right, step in. Pick up your foot. There you go. Step in.
My head! I am an ASL interpreter and my hands are killing me.
Turn around. Turn around.
What would the charge even be? Maybe public indecency? I have no idea, though. The cop hasn't said anything.
Scoot back in. Scoot back in. Scoot back in.
I am trying.
He's going to help you. The officer's going to help you.
I can't. I can't.
We got to get this suit off. Yep. All right. We got to get the suit off. Come on, step
Can my
out.
person get my suit off?
No, we're going to take it off of you. Come on, step out. Take the suit off. All right, uncover. All right. Uncover and let's take the suit off.
Okay. Y'all mind backing up first, please?
So I've not done anything.
I'm going to take these hands.
Okay. That's fine. We're going to I got you. You can stand over at the sidewalk right now. You cannot stand this close.
Why not?
Again, for officer safety reasons, you guys got to back up.
I'm her husband.
Okay.
Stay right here. Don't move, okay?
Back up to the sidewalk right now, please.
All right, got the handcuffs off. You're going to take this off.
This is saying that when she was arrested, she was charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Is there more to this video that we haven't seen? What part is resisting? I don't know what the disorderly conduct statute is for the city. Maybe wearing a dick costume is disorderly, but the cop didn't say anything.
What's your name?
Antifa.
Antifa.
Holy fucking... We have a dangerously based... We have a dangerously based grandma right here.
Can you tell me where the zipper to this is?
It's in the bag.
Okay. Antifa, I'm not trying to be difficult with you, man.
Does he think that's her name? The not father? Is he having a moot moment here? Did he think that that's...
I'm going to take these hands.
Okay. That's fine. We're going to I got you. You can stand over at the sidewalk right now. You cannot stand this close.
Why not?
Again, for officer safety reasons, you guys got back up.
I'm her husband. Stay right here. Don't move, okay?
Back up to the sidewalk right now, please.
All right, got the handcuffs off. You're going to take this off.
What's your name?
Aunt Tifa.
Aunt Tifa, can you tell me where the zipper to this is?
It's in the bag.
Okay. Aunt Tifa, I'm not trying to be difficult with you, ma'am. I'm trying to... No, I'm not trying to violate your freedom of speech. I'm trying to preserve a town that has value.
Cop here out of St. Louis. This could be justified arrest based on local laws, but in the grand scheme of things, this is going to be overturned. The cop said it's offensive, but being offensive isn't illegal. I point you to the Tiki Torch marches and a Jewish community, KKK rallies in Washington. Sure, but there's a difference between offensive versus obscene. Offensive speech is protected in the United States. Obscenity is not. But the only thing is that the cop never clearly stated. Now, maybe there's more to this video that is cut off at the beginning. But the issue is that in the beginning, it sounds like the police officer is having a personal argument with the lady. And the lady's like, am I free to go? Am I being detained? And then she just leaves. But if a cop comes up to me and I'm like smoking weed, let's say I think weed is legal or whatever, and the cop's like, excuse me, sir. And I'm like, hey, what's up, copper? And he's like, what would I tell my kids if they saw you smoking weed? It's like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck your kids. Who cares? I don't know. Tell them to go to school. Don't do drugs. Bitch, can I leave? And then you leave. Like, why am I having a personal conversation about what is offensive or inoffensive to the cop or what the cop wants his kids to see? I don't fucking know. Like, that's a stupid conversation to have. Now, if he says, you're violating a city ordinance, you're violating a state law, I need you to comply with it. Oh, okay, well, now I'm fucked. Now he'll arrest me, right? But this whole, it's like just like a personal argument about his personal sensibilities at the beginning. It's just fucking weird.
All right, put your head down. Put your head down. We'll come over the top. Put your head down.
I got in. Let me figure out.
Okay, all right. You're exactly right.
All right, let it drop past your feet, okay?
Pull your feet out.
Right here, not below.
Pull your feet out.
Step out of it.
Pull your feet out.
Oh, wait, what is that? My American flag shoes. What? I'm an American? I'm an American! Who knew?
Hurry up.
Who knew? I have rights! Who knew?
Oh my God.
All right, no, leave that there. We'll take it. Step over.
We'll grab it. All right.
You're going to take my property?
Put them.
All right, turn around.
Hey, put them on the front. Put them on the front. They're on the front. Hands in the front.
Fairhope. In Fairhope, a single tax colony, the children have been cheering me on. I walked from
No
Subway.
child's going to cheer you on dressed like a wiener.
Yes, they did.
That's because they're children and they're as immature as you are.
Yeah, that's what a child is immature. What do you think the word immature and mature mean, you fucking moron? There's no way that a child would cheer on an old lady in a dick costume. I'm sorry, have you ever been a kid before? That sounds like exactly the type of thing that kids would cheer on. This guy's coworkers gotta be like, bro, what are we doing right now?
All right, y'all meet me up at the gym.
Oh, they didn't have shit to say, huh? Wow, Chargan, thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subbers.
1015. I'll be transporting one female to the jail, starting miles 97130.
Unit 165 joint call.
21 will meet them up there. Do not come into the street. It is illegal to come into the street. Do not come into the street. It is illegal to come into the street.
My face when the cop pulls me over for texting and driving, meanwhile, has more screens in his car than a fucking Tesla. What the fuck?
Do not step into the street. It is illegal to step into the street. Do not come into the street. It is illegal to step into the street. come into the road, okay? Just don't come in the road. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's what we like.
That's not hot chocolate. That's a coffee, guaranteed.
Thank you. That's the ticket.
That's not 10 and 2. There you go. Is there any point to the rest of this video? Why is this camera still on? Shouldn't they automatically turn off after?
What up? What happened? Well, one dressed like a freaking wiener. Come up, she's wearing a big gigantic penis costume and is like, hey, look, you got to take that off. And she was like, take what off? My, you know, freedom of speech or whatever. And I said, that's not freedom of speech. I said, man, this is a family town. And I said, and being...
Which towns aren't family towns? What does that mean? Are there towns with no families or what?
Dress like that's not going to be tolerated. I said, it's disorderly conduct. I said, you're setting an example that doesn't need to be set. I said, if my kids were to come by here and see that, what would they, you know, I said, how would you explain it to them? And she said, I'd explain to them that we don't have kings. And I said, that's not what I'm talking about, and you know it. And I said, I need you to take the outfit off. And she went to turn around, walk off, and I said, no, ma'am. I said, come here, I need to talk to you. And she pulled away from me, so I grabbed her and put her on the ground.
Damn, that pesky fucking body cam sure does make this story not true.
Lord have mercy.
Oh no, wait, what are they? What do you call the, is it commanding officer or whatever? Or dispatch? I don't know who he's talking to here. What do you say? Lord have mercy. Does he know he fucked up? I don't know. Hold on.
Lord have mercy.
Okay. Even with his version, it's still wrong, no? Well, if the lady starts to leave and he says, come back, I need to talk to you, or come back, you're being detained, or you're not free to leave, or whatever, and then she still tries to leave, then I think you have an argument for resisting arrest or him trying to, use force to bring her back. I still would say it's probably excessive here. I don't think she was sprinting away. But he didn't say shit. She just turned around and started walking away. And he just fucking grabbed her and yanked her to the ground with no warning whatsoever. I don't think she had any indication whatsoever that he was about to assault her.
Zoran Mandami is expected to require all New York elementary school students to learn Arabic numerals? This is happening faster than I thought.
He's trolling. He's trolling. Stop. He's trolling. God damn. Stop. He's trolling. He's obviously trolling. He must be trolling. Find me the stream. Find me the stream moment. The thing is that this is a nice meme, I think, because it's really, really, really retarded on two different levels, right? There's the obvious level one retarded shit that all the epic Redditors like to point out, that our numerals are derived from, are basically our Arabic numerals, so you're just teaching normal numbers. But the second level is like, I don't even know if he's mayor yet. Why would you expect that the mayor would be able to unilaterally overhaul or introduce something into the school system and it would happen instantly? Like, it's such a stupid, even if you thought that this was something that it wasn't, it's such a stupid thing to just believe immediately. Yeah. So that's how it works in cartoons? True. Stop! Okay. Jesus Christ.
Numerals?
That entire cop YouTube
This is
channel
happening
has
faster than I
fake
thought.
cop videos. None of them are real. Wait, the one that we just watched? Wait, what is this news article then? Wait, what was that guy's name in chat? I'm assuming it was this guy. Good luck.
Bro, like, god damn. Give me a minute.
Oh, he's just gonna come back and say nothing, so we don't know now. No. Hold on.
And I'm back. Give me a minute. Oh, bro, like, we gotta stop this quick. Man, I knew this. I knew this shit was gonna happen. Stop it? I don't know, bro. Like, we gotta stop this quick before it gets worse. Let me go back. I'll find some more of these posts here, too. Where's the rest of it? Assassin's Creed team has started working on the next Assassin's Creed.
What else would they do? Beautiful.
We are Charlie Kirk.
Stop, Jesus, stop. Okay, what is this? Rent is too high. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. Groceries cost too much. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. There aren't enough jobs. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. Women don't feel safe walking down the street. There are tens of millions of criminal illegals in our country. Traffic is terrible. Healthcare is too expensive. Welfare spending is through the roof. I can't afford a car. I can't afford a house. So illegal immigrants are coming into the country and renting up all the apartments, buying up all the groceries, working all the jobs, beating women, buying and driving cars, going to the hospital all the time. They also get welfare for some reason. Still buying up all the cars, and also buying houses. Well, damn, these motherfuckers are coming over with a big agenda. What? What is this? I've seen a few stories on this. U.S. troops invade Mexico. Dramatic escalation of tensions. The Pentagon scrambles to contain the fallout. U.S. contractors arrived by boat on Monday at Playa Baghdad, driving signs into the sand near where the Rio Grande empties into the Gulf of Mexico. Alarmed witnesses quickly alerted officials, and heavily armed Mexican security personnel rushed to the scene on trucks mounted with machine guns. A terrifying standoff. Pentagon and declared statement admitted his troops were mistaken when they landed on the beach. What a sensationalist headline. Okay.
It took a deliberate 4-year administration that was making life harder for everyday Americans, that was importing foreign workers instead of giving jobs to American workers, that was over-regulating, overtaxing, overspending. They were doing everything wrong. And as much progress as we've made, it's going to take a little bit of time for every American to feel that economic boom, which we really do believe is coming. We believe that we're on the front end of it. But
it's coming, or we've already experienced it?
We also recognize that we've got a lot of work to do to undo the damage that Joe Biden did to the American economy. And the last point I'll say, Matt, is let's be honest, it's not just Joe Biden. As much as I think Joe Biden was one of the most disastrous presidents of American history, we had a policy in this country for 40 years of shipping American jobs overseas and hiring foreign workers instead of American workers. That has caused the economic stagnation of the American middle class. It took a deliberate...
Speaker, how you doing? The president posted that Democrats who urge service members to not follow illegal orders should be punished. It should be seditious, conspiracy, and punishable by death. Do you have any response to that?
Look, I know the DOJ and the Pentagon are looking into the legality of all that, but what I can address is what everybody knows. That was wildly inappropriate. It is very dangerous. You have leading members of Congress telling troops to disobey orders.
Wow. My bad. I thought he was saying that the President of the United States saying that we should execute members of Congress was wildly inappropriate. My bad.
Address is what everybody knows. That was wildly inappropriate. It is very dangerous. You have leading members of Congress telling troops to disobey orders. I think that's unprecedented in American history. And as the father of a young man who is, at the Naval Academy, going to be joining the service, I know young soldiers, airmen, sailors, they don't need that kind of nonsense from people in Congress. It is very dangerous. I'm going to let others dangerous. I'm going to let others define what it is, but it's wildly inappropriate.
I still like the cat rape analogy for demonstrating the inappropriateness that people respond sometimes to crazy things. Indifference doesn't necessarily mean that you're endorsing a thing. If I were to go to somebody's apartment and I were to say, I'm going to go rape your cat, or I really would like to, I feel like the response to that probably wouldn't be, that's something to consider. I think you would probably have a visceral response to that statement. It would be like, excuse me, you probably ask the person to leave. This pretending of just because you invite somebody onto your talk show and you don't push back on a single point whatsoever, and you seem to have a chummy good time, doesn't necessarily mean you endorse them. This is such a weird argument. Nobody's saying that. It's just, I don't know. The platforming and the debating and everything is so fucking cringe. I blame leftists for fucking this up so much too, Hassan and everybody else, where anytime you platform somebody, it means you're endorsing them, even if you are actively debating them. And now for these guys, if you platform somebody and you're chummy with them, now they...
Wait, I'm sorry, would you debate Hitler?
Would you debate Hitler?
Yeah.
Why is this guy anywhere still? Sure, why not? What does this have to do with anything? Sure? What?
Well, Hitler's dead, so that's...
Oh my God, and this guy manages to give the dumbest response. Oh, he's got one more. Oh my God. Parker should go, well, what if Hitler was alive? And the guy's like, well, I don't speak German.
Nazi. Yeah.
I hate it when people do the questioning thing. When people are looking for an answer because they don't have one and they're trying to buy time. Like,
At a platform.
I'm asking, what's so complicated about that question? Would I debate? Like, Parker's thing is not the correct question. She was on a better thing. The issue is not that whether or not you're debating them. It's whether or not you're just platforming them and allowing them to spread their ideas unopposed or unchallenged. And it's way better. He's soyed the fuck out. Him and Dean, their minds got fucking rotted on TikTok. Oh, and I feel her pain now because she knows he's making a fucking... He's already contradicted this. Like, whether you like it or not, at the very least, they're getting platformed on mainstream platforms. Now, how widespread will they become in the Republican Party? Who knows? But you can't just pretend they don't exist.
Again, I want to be clear.
Trillionaire. Did somebody say trillionaire? Fuentes is everywhere on Insta Reels. A lot of Grubber accounts use it. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know how you can measure that. You can link me some of the more popular ones if you want. I've never seen Fuentes on Instagram. And I like racist stuff sometimes. But it's hard to say because everybody's algos are serving up the slop that you want to see. Have you not seen Grubber shit constantly? I don't know. All my shit right now is like DBZ or farming shit or whatever. Let's see. What are the last few reels I've liked? Hold on. Your activity. There's a lot. Okay, true. If I would have spilled this Red Bull, I would have been done streaming for a week. I was not ready for how true this was. Holy shit. So I went to a prep high school, and my parents, I would say we were middle to solid upper middle class up until I was like 12 or 13. I didn't realize the kids that went to my school were like rich. I remember there was a kid. His last name was O'Neill. Apparently his parents owned a bunch of car dealerships. I'll just say that much. I went to visit his house. This guy had like a downstairs movie theater. This kids, they were living, oh my God. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't realize until once I got to high school especially, I was like, oh, prep kids are on some crazy shit. They're on some wild shit. My parents are LARPing. Oh, not this. Wait, hold on. My parents are LARPing as being wealthy.
Arrived. Oh, Maxwell! Help yourself to a snack. We have fruit by the foot, Scotchers. I think we have some Captain Crunch. For me? Oh my God! Also, if you're parched, see what you can find in the fridge. 2 doors? I'll be in the basement when you're ready to play. I can't believe he has stairs and... Oh! What the freak? Is that a pony?
Well, wait for it. Wait for it.
Xbox? No way! You're like totally rich! No, I'm not rich!
All of them will do this, and I don't know why. All of them will do that. All of them will say it. I guess in high school you got to feel like you're struggling, and so they like to deny it, but
trash?
Yes, just give me 2 minutes.
Fine, I'll just do it myself. You fucking lazy piece of fucking shit! You fucking pussy ass bitch! Get off your fucking ass, loser! Hey, can you...
Why do people do that? Well, no, fuck. Actually, I kind of do this, but I don't do it that meanly. Well, never mind. Actually, I withdraw my commentary on this. If I ask somebody to do something, it's because I want it done right now. If you don't want to do it, I'll do it. I won't be mad about it, though. I'll just do it. So I'm like, hey, can you do this thing? Especially if I'm in the middle of like cleaning or something. Like, hey, can you do this? And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll do it in a bit. It's like, well, I could do it then. If you're just going to take you a while, then don't let me inconvenience you. No, I'm not mad about it. I won't say that. I'll just be like, okay, that's fine. I can do it. But then when you do it, then they get offended. But some people will get mad. Some people will be like, can you do this thing? It's clearly not a pressing thing. And you're like, yeah, I'll get to it in a minute. And then they'll get like mad about it. Like, what, does this have to happen right now? Fuck them. Fuck everything. Fuck people. Fuck. See, I don't like the right racist stuff. I need to like it on here to train my algorithm. My algo. What is this? Is there a spot on the income distribution where you think people land in the category of rich, like 80th percentile and up? No, there's everything's just like like what is middle class? There's just like a collection of behaviors, you know? Somebody in chat said, I didn't even realize this, but you're right, that rich kids are always on the phone. And you know why? I realize this is a rich person thing. The mom has a full-time job, but the job is the family. Like, and I don't mean just like cleans the house. I mean, like when you get home, the mom's always gone. It's like, oh, where's she at? Oh, she had to run to pick up like the two sisters or whatever from the thing. And then she's like running, like the mom's like always like out like doing stuff. She doesn't have a job, but she's like 24/7, not 24/7, but it's like full time, like always like doing stuff throughout the day. There's just like a lot of like things like that, I guess. Obviously there's like huge homes with lots of space. That might've been a Nebraska thing though. I guess if you're in New York City, you probably don't have a huge home. They eat dinner together. That's weird. All of the family will be there. They all sit down and they like have like maybe that's not that weird. I don't know. They all eat together always. I'm trying to think of what else. That's just family values, dog. Maybe you should fuck yourself, bitch. How did you eat dinner if not with your family? Mine was probably different because my mom did daycare. And then up until we were 13. And then once she quit that, my dad was always working, so he would never be there for dinner. There's the obvious. They always got new cars when they turned like 15, 16. Nice new cars. But that's pretty obvious. Rich kids were always on the clothing trends every semester. That might be true, but in private school, we always had like a quote unquote uniform, which was just like slacks and a button up shirt. So I guess I probably wouldn't have noticed that as much, like fashion stuff. Maybe they had cooler shoes. I don't know, fuck all about shoes. Are you for or against school uniforms? I'm super biased against my fucking shit, so I think uniforms are a great idea. I also think that high school should be sex separated. Gender, single gender, not co-ed, non-co-ed. I think that was based. Boys only high school? Fucking based. Don't waste time with that shit in school. Have the drama before and after. I think it was absolutely based. Was there a lot of gay behavior in an all-boys school? Kind of, but like I would say like ordinary gay behavior. Like football players and wrestlers like slapping each other's butts and stuff. Dick checks. What would they call them? They'd say they just like when you're walking by, they'd like punch your dick. I don't know how normal that was. Just dumb shit. I mean, king shit. Do you have penis inspection day at your school? No, I always did that at home with your mom. Got him. Fuck, I've been liking too many Minecraft things. Did you have people spraying Axe body spray across the entire locker room in gym class? No, I don't think so. But the girls' high schools smelled like a fucking jungle of crazy Sephora, whatever the fucking sprays are. Oh my God, their hallways were crazy. I don't know if it was hairsprays or perfume or what, not, probably not perfume. It was just, I don't know, whatever the fuck it was. Jesus. Me counting sheep to fall asleep. There's a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 are right here. Hold on. One more. What is this?
She's probably retarded.
Okay, never mind. I don't know why I like that one. Never mind. Hold on. Wait. What is this one? There you go.
Please stay. I want you, I need you, oh God. Don't take these beautiful things that I've got. Please stay. I want you, I need you, oh God. Don't take these beautiful things that I've got. Please.
My car, whenever the direct deposit hits. Somebody in chat like this.
What was, no, I saw you put something in your pocket. What was that? What did you put in there? What was it that was in your pocket though? Because it seemed interesting. It seemed like really interesting. What was it?
Oh shit. That means the check engine light's about to come on.
No, you can tell me. You can tell me.
Just kidding. Poor people don't care about the check engine light. The one that we worry about was the engine light. It's the check engine light is that just means your car's turned on. It's the other one that comes on, the oil one, pressure, whatever bullshit. You're like, fuck.
Just tell me what's in your pocket. Turn your pockets out really quick. Turn them out. Just turn them out.
Different aspect.
Okay, stop. Where were we? We were on the subreddit. This fucking loser. Matt Taibbi, the Jeffrey Epstein story is beginning to smell like Russiagate. Oh shit. Maybe if you read the story, what he means is it's actually a lot more true than people realize. Maybe, possibly, maybe. What if Gavin Newsom quietly pushed for the trigger language? Oh, we saw this. Has anyone brought up the actual real reason the Verseau ending is the morally correct ending? Even granting the genocide of the Gestrels, people of Lumiere should be, that would be the final amount of suffering, but the infinite amount of suffering, true. Go argue with food shops. Wait, am I crazy? I thought, oh, it was this. I didn't listen to this, but I saw it on the sub. I love, these are my two favorite people.
The one thing that does...
Who uploaded this clip? Why is it so quiet? God damn it.
Really give me pause is this conversation. The one thing that does really give me pause is this
You know what? Fuck it. Hold on.
Conversation. Today. Francis, sorry, I know this has gone on for a long time with just me talking, but this is like a meme, me talking too much. But there's one other bit of this I want to explore with you before Francis takes over, which is the one thing, look, I'm not American, Francis is not American, we love this country, we have so many great American friends. The one thing that does really give me pause is this conversation that I don't understand about a third term. Steve Bannon was pushing this idea a long time ago, and as we sat down...
That's the only thing?
...to record this, President Trump was asked about this. He sort of gave a bit of a non-answer. He did say he wouldn't run as vice president, the sort of Russian Putin-Medvedev switcheroo that they did way back when. But that, like, that, to me, is the one bit of...
The one out of 1,000 things that caught your attention? I mean, like the fact that he's even, after January 6th, the fact that we're even having this conversation is insanity.
I'm trying to make my point in a way that is easier to access for people who may not agree with you. Okay, I'm trying to take some of the edge off.
You know your audience, all right?
I know.
I'll take all the help I can get.
Well, what I'm saying is, all of these other things, for example, take the corruption stuff, right? A lot of people are just going to go, I don't give a shit. I care about, he sorted the hostages, he's dealing with immigration. Sam Harris doesn't like the way he's dealing with it, but at least he's dealing with it in some way.
Change the white balance on your camera. I changed the things a little. It should look fine now. I think it looks fine.
He's got NATO to pay their way. I could give you other examples, right? Repatriating manufacturing back to the US, whatever. But NATO, the hostages, all of these other things. For example, take the corruption stuff, right? A lot of people are just going to go, I don't give a shit. I care about, he sorted the hostages.
Less hostages freed than Biden.
He's dealing with immigration. Sam Harris doesn't like...
Has been a disaster for immigration.
The way he's dealing with it, but at least he's dealing with it in some way.
That thing. At least he's doing something about it.
He's got NATO to pay their way. I could give you other examples, right? Repatriating manufacturing back to the US, whatever. But the one bit that I think a reasonable person, including after January 6th, would have to look at and be worried about is...
Why? If he's the right guy for the job, why wouldn't we want him for a third term?
Because you have a constitution.
Yeah, but...
And an unwillingness to follow the constitution is an indicator of some serious problems, wouldn't you say?
Huh.
Okay.
Well, I would say, but he views the Constitution like most rich people view the tax code, where you're just looking for loopholes. If there's a loophole, then why not use it, right? And some constitutional scholars think there's several significant loopholes in the Constitution that could allow for tyranny. I mean, that are, the framers didn't anticipate, in some cases they did anticipate, and they basically just said that there's no perfect way to deal with a sufficiently unethical president, right? But one could argue that they didn't anticipate anything like Trump and the full capture of the Republican Party into something like a personality cult. I mean, what they clearly didn't anticipate is that the separation of powers is broken down because Congress doesn't care to be its own power anymore.
True.
Because the Republicans are just wanting to ratify whatever lies and indiscretions the executive branch throws up. So, Congress has been neutered, right? Congress owns tariff policy, right? Congress should be setting the tariffs.
True.
Probably these tariffs might, I'm not a lawyer, but it remains to be seen. I mean, there's hundreds of cases in front of the courts. Much of what Trump has done already might be ruled illegal. But Congress is sitting on its hands for patently political reasons. I mean, every Republican who has...
Patently? Argument?
With any hope of maintaining a political career at this point, knows that they can't cross the MAGA base. Some actually fear for their lives in crossing the MAGA base. And we know this, again, when we look at the people who said they would have impeached Trump after January 6th and didn't because they were afraid for their lives. And that's already a lurch toward tyranny in this country.
This might have been filmed before the MTG step out, maybe. I don't know when they filmed this.
And that is an unraveling of democratic norms that we can't afford to let unravel. And the Constitution is no complete bulwark against any of that. We know this. I mean, the greatest lesson we've learned from now 2 experiments with Trumpism is that in the place of laws, we have norms in many, many places where you thought we were shored up against chaos and the unraveling of democracy by law. We really weren't. It was just everyone.
Oh my God, he's got a raging boner. He's about to pivot to Biden. I can feel it. He's been waiting to pivot to Biden. What about when Biden did this, though? Please, God, do it. Please, I'm ready to coom. I'm ready to coom, please.
Before Trump had the decency not to do that thing because it would look so terrible, right? I mean, no one thought that you could. I mean, we got an emoluments clause, but it turns out that whatever Trump does, I mean, Trump can't be prosecuted for any crime while president, and he can just launch a Bitcoin into the ether and literally earn billions of dollars over months. And I mean, I can still dimly remember a time when it was being debated whether or not members of Congress could
trade stocks,
go to function, whether they had to declare the price of the food they were being served if it was a seated meal. I mean, it was like past hors d'oeuvres that could pass, but a seated meal was an emolument that invited real scrutiny around corruption and undue influence on our legislators, by pharmaceutical companies or whoever. You can now transact business directly with the Trump family, from any place on earth.
Sam, come back to my question. My question is, are you concerned that President Trump will not relinquish power?
Ironically, I'm less concerned about that than anything I've talked about. But the truth is, I'm not, if you've listened to everything I've said, I believe none of it is hypothetical, right? I'm complaining about stuff that's already happened. I'm complaining about the brand damage that's already been done to my country.
Sure, but I'm asking you a different question.
I think the chance that he's going to run for a third term effectively, that we will actually be faced with.
I would say it's unlikely, but just because he's like old and dying. Like if he was younger, he absolutely would 1 million trillion %.
This eventuality is very, very low. Okay. And I'm not, again, there are people who are better informed about the mechanics of all this. And unfortunately, one of those people is Steve Bannon. So yeah, I'm not saying I know something that Steve Bannon doesn't know about how all this works, because I certainly don't. But I just have to think that our system, that we've maintained enough guardrails in our just the basics of federalism and the fact that this all has to be run at the state level, the elections at the state level. I have to think that we are going to be sufficiently allergic to that it's not going to happen.
Moving forward, the Charlie Kirk assassination was obviously something that left an imprint in all of our minds. It was profoundly shocking.
Terrible.
You make some very interesting comments criticizing the rights and the rights response to the Charlie Kirk assassination. So why don't we just go through it? You say what you thought, and then let's get into it.
Sure. Well, I was just starting my tour. Actually, I think I was doing my first event the day he was assassinated. So I had, like many people, there are many people in our orbit who were doing live events, and I think Ben Shapiro was in a similar situation where it's like, it's like the world stopped, and Live Nation got on the phone with everyone who they were working with and said, hey, listen, if you don't want to go out on stage, just let us know. But so it's just, and I said a few things about it, at those live events that I was doing that week. I mean, it was a terrible thing. It was terrible on every level. It was terrible just as a murder of a young father. It's terrible that his family was there. I mean, it was just awful. It's additionally terrible because a political assassination is genuinely dangerous because we are so combustible as a society. And the fact that we're this combustible, a lot of the onus goes to both sides, but I would put most of the onus, as will not surprise you, on the president and his cult. Right? And I would say that the response to the assassination was highly asymmetrical in ways that don't make Trump and Trumpism look good. I mean, I thought, so for instance, all the people right of center were watching those awful videos of Gen Z maniacs celebrate Kirk's murder. And obviously all those people are dangerous morons on some level. And many of them are, just obviously mentally ill too. I mean, these are not, it was not the cream of the crop of the woke intelligentsia. Just the sheer number of facial piercings you saw in those videos could have told you something. But what you didn't have left of center were prominent people with big platforms, prominent media figures, or, to say nothing of political figures, like, from Obama on down, say anything but this was horrible and we should never let it come to this in American politics, right? Like, this is there's no party left of center, a real party for political assassination. And yet right of center, very prominent people, from the president and Elon on down, treated it like the first shot fired in the Civil War.
Yep.
Totally irresponsible, totally dishonest. I mean, these people treated it like the first shot fired in the Civil War. Totally irresponsible, totally dishonest.
Wait, did anybody hear a beep? Am I crazy?
I mean, these people were arsonists pretending to be firefighters. I mean, Elon jumped on X within minutes before Kirk was declared dead.
Yep.
Certainly before his killer was caught, and said the left is the party of murder, right? And then I think some hours later he said, if they won't leave us in peace, there's nothing to do but fight or
Jesus.
die. Right? I mean, to 225 million people, right? So to have the richest guy in the world on the most politically important social media platform in the world say this sort of thing is just, it's beyond reckless. I mean, it's just sociopathic. It's just he is just flinging matches into a landscape that has been just soaked in gasoline. And the soaking has been done mostly by Trump and Trumpism and just the grifters, right of center, like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones. I mean, and I know you have your differences with those guys, and perhaps we'll get into it.
We have a lot of differences with those guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how the landscape is fracturing right of center. I think it would be good to talk about all of that because I think it's more fractured than you guys think it is. I mean, I think there are more casualties than just Tucker and Candace there, or at least should be. But
Jesus. Did they ever talk?
This was a highly asymmetric moment of political hysteria, right? So left of center, you had genuine lunatics who represent no one celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk.
At a time when truth feels under siege.
And again, I wouldn't even grant that. Most of them were kids. They're just fucking college kids, okay?
Sometimes the best way to get perspective is to get human family and family perspective in politics more clearly. Let's just pause that there. Isn't there an argument to be made, Sam, that the rhetoric of the left, calling everyone fascists and Nazis, when quite patently they're neither fascist? Look, you can have your criticism.
Oh my God. The right's been calling us commies for decades. Shut the fuck up.
About Charlie Kirk's politics. But let's be honest, he was a right-wing conservative, a Christian conservative. He's not a fascist, he's not a Nazi. Yet that accusation had been made time and time again, not only against Kirk, but also people of that particular branch of politics. Doesn't that incentivize these type of murders, this type of violence?
Well, it's more complicated than that, because so Trump is not Hitler. I've never said he was. We're not living in Weimar Germany now in America, but he is a genuine wannabe authoritarian doing many authoritarian things and damaging our democracy with both hands every chance he gets, right? So I don't know, and we're just you're now asking me what I think about the prospect of him running for a third term in just overt defiance of the 22nd Amendment, right? It's not fascism. I mean, fascism is the wrong term, right? It's just got too much culturally specific and historically specific baggage attached to it. But authoritarian is the right term, and aspiring tyrant.
There's more argument for Donald Trump to be considered a fucking fascist than there is for Obama or Biden to be considered a fucking communist.
Is the right term, and he's just not. The truth is, he's not effective enough. He's not ideological enough. He doesn't care about enough big things to worry me that much.
Just
right? I mean, if he were this is a point I've made to the consternation and confusion of many audiences. But the irony is, if he were a better person, he'd be a more dangerous person. Right? If he were a smarter person, a more committed person. I mean, if he could possibly commit to something beyond himself, right, and make, he'd be more dangerous, right? If he were less distractible, etc. So I don't view him as a Hitler figure, but I do. Everyone who's calling him an authoritarian, which sounds a lot like fascist, and you turn up the dial on authoritarianism. There's no important difference between what you're talking about and fascism. Then you're just talking about like the clothing and whether the Catholic Church was ever in the mix, and etc. So he's not as bad as Putin, right? But if we give him a chance to have as much power as he wants, where does he stop? Right? He certainly doesn't. He would run for a third term if we discovered that the 22nd Amendment just didn't apply, and there's just an open fairway between him and the Green. Of course, he's going to run for a third term. It's like he doesn't care about the spirit of the Constitution, where it's clearly meant that you should not. It's not that you can't be elected twice. You can't be president twice.
So I take your point about Trump, but let's come back because they don't only say about Trump.
So I didn't answer your question. Yeah. Yes, certain terms are inflammatory and imprecise, but it's a much grayer area than you're making it out to be. And I mean, many people would say that what I've just said in the hour so far about Trump is just a species of that very, irresponsibility of condemning him to the point where, okay, any sane person is going to look at this and say, okay, we have a political emergency, and anything is warranted in resistance to this, right? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we have a political emergency, right? And we need our institutions to function to contain the damage.
But do you not think that it's really important when you criticize your political enemies?
It's important to be honest.
But it's also important to be accurate. In the same way that you can think somebody's a terrible person and their politics are awful, it doesn't make them a paedophile, for instance.
Yeah.
And this kind of escalatory language, I personally think is highly dangerous. And when you live in a country like America where you have access to guns and there's so many people with mental illnesses, I mean, that's dangerous.
But nobody uses more inflammatory language.
Yeah, thank you. Please, God. At least Sam doesn't play this fucking... He's two-siding a little, but it's okay. Like, I mean, there are people who are on the left who use responsible rhetoric, sure. But he's squarely, like, centering the majority of the blame on Trump. This is good that he refocuses. Thank God. He's one of the few people that will fucking do this.
So we have access to guns and there's so many people with mental illnesses. I mean, that's dangerous.
But nobody uses more inflammatory language less responsibly than Trump and his...
Not only that, Not only does he use way more inflammatory language, he's chosen because he uses inflammatory language. That's one of the big selling points for people on the right for him.
Enablers, right? I mean, so again, Elon jumped on X and basically said, our political opponents are murderers. The left is the party of murder. There is no party of murder in America, right? Trump in his address to the nation immediately after Kirk's death, effectively said in so many words, not just that these Gen Z maniacs on TikTok were responsible for his death. He effectively said that his mainstream political opponents were culpable for murder, right? Which is just not true. Again, everyone from Obama on down said this is fucking horrible, right? We have to pull back from the brink here. This is not acceptable on any level. And then you had people bending over backwards to sane wash Kirk's actual politics. Ezra Klein jumps on his opinion column at the New York Times that says Charlie Kirk was doing politics the right way, for which he got no end of left or center.
King.
Everyone was being sensitive. Everyone with any real platform was being sensitive. And what you had right of center were just, with the important exception of Kirk's wife during her eulogy, right, who struck a very different note. Stephen Miller's eulogy was madness. It was fascistic madness. I mean, this is right. I mean, Stephen Miller is a character, apart from the fact that he's Jewish, he's a character right out of Weimar, right? I mean, he's a lunatic in how he messages into this combustible environment. Do you remember? Did you watch his speech?
I didn't watch his speech.
Okay, you should watch his speech. It was the most insanely vituperative, just expressive of pure hatred.
I didn't watch his speech. Did you watch any of that?
For everyone left of center. I mean, just you people are nothing. We will destroy you. You have awakened a dragon. You have no idea what you and the not so much from him, but from other people on the dais that day. There was just this volcanic expression of Christian nationalist kind of just. I mean, it's just pure moral confusion and political hysteria from my point of view. It was their George Floyd moment. Again, yes, without the riots and obviously.
Well, it's quite a big deal, Sam.
But
this is what I was going to bring up.
It's a superficial deal.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
It's a big deal, but it's not. It is a bigger deal to have the President of the United States come before the country and say, basically, half of mainstream America
is evil.
Is a terrorist organization. Like those are not his words. That was the subtext of everything he said in that address to the nation. It was completely of a piece with Elon's tweets, right?
Let me the George Floyd thing. I think you're going way too far, Sam, and here's why.
There's no daylight between us about the George Floyd riots.
I know. It doesn't matter. You try to compare it. BLM was the worst fucking thing ever. COVID is the ultimate mindfuck. COVID is just so good at fucking ruining everything that happened with the fucking world. The George Floyd riots were bad. However, nobody on the right will ever admit this, okay? Nobody on the right will ever give COVID its due, except for when it comes time to give an excuse for Trump. I would argue that a large portion of the protests and the riots that happened around the George Floyd thing, I think were because of COVID. I think that people were inside, people were fucking losing their minds. It was like just bored. No one had anything to do. But like conservatives will just pretend like, oh no, that had no fun. But like at the time, everybody kind of knew this. Everything was like kind of fucking weird and crazy. But
precisely the same way. I just view Trump differently.
Hold on. What I'm saying is something else. We agree that burning down cities and taking over districts in America and burning police stations and killing a lot of black people and these moronic chants of defund the police, which led to more black people being killed in their communities and in the cities. All of that's crazy, right? And wrong. But what I noticed, and I'm just telling you what I noticed, right? Is when Charlie Kirk was murdered in this way, which I thought was horrific, and I think
I noticed that no one on the right actually killed anybody. They were all peaceful. I noticed that, and it's a very big difference.
We do know, as far as I can tell, that it was politically motivated, and I would argue, you may disagree, but for me, the word Nazi and fascist has a very unique dimension to it, which is we have been trained as a culture to view these people as a specific threat to the democratic order, to minorities. It's when we think of a Nazi, we think of someone who's going to take over the country, destroy democracy, and murder millions of people.
Yeah.
That's what a Nazi is. So what happened was...
I do think there... Yeah,
let me finish my point. What happened was a lot of people on the right, and even people like you, and even people like us who are not even on the right, have been called those terms by some people. In your case, for being critical of Islam. In our case, for questioning the insanity of the left, etc. Right? In my view, that is putting a target on people's back. But the other point is, when Charlie Kirk was murdered, it was horrific. Anyone
say the thing he's going to say. Oh, I'm about to come.
Watching it and what happened. Did you worry for 1 second that there's going to be streets burning in America? Did you worry that police stations were going to be burning down? Did you worry about any of that? Because I didn't.
No, but again, the reason why it's unfair. It's a valid point, but it's not as significant as you're making it out to seem. So, and it's of a piece with a point that many people made during the elections, right? When businesses in Beverly Hills are boarding up their windows, right, in anticipation of political chaos. Should the election go one way or the other, many people right of center pointed out, okay, the people are boarding up those windows not because they think Trumpists are going to start looting Williams-Sonoma should Trump lose, right? There was just one side that was being worried about in those moments. And it was indecent on some level not to notice that, right? Same point. It just, so that, yes, it is true that the left, and especially the black community, expresses itself in that way when the unhappiness gets dialed up to 11. What I worry about on the right is of much greater concern ultimately, and it's hardcore political violence, like Timothy McVeigh style, truck bomb violence, and real militias, really committed and trained people who have been training for years, some of whom are Nazis, right? I mean, they're not German Nazis, but they're neo-Nazis. There's much more of that on the right. When you look at just the fringes of gun culture, and again, this all predates this moment. I mean, we could have had this conversation 10 years ago. There's much more, the powder keg of real political violence and civil unrest in this country that is consequential. It's not just looting and burning, but it's your AR-15s that you've been polishing for years and training on for years, and you've got 10,000 rounds of ammunition already stored for this purpose. Those people are right of center, right? And that
is it not telling that you have to go back to Timothy McVeigh? I mean, that's what, the 1996.
Well, that's just the big one. There are other examples of, maybe even just in this recent cycle. And this is the thing that was so dishonest about Trump's address to the nation. He talked about political violence and political assassination
Melissa Hortman,
as though it was well established that it was only a left-wing thing.
Yeah, but that's not
even
true.
with Kirk's assassination, it still, in recent memory, has been more of a right-wing thing. There's simply more incidents of right-wing political violence, including assassination or attempted assassination. And then there's just ambiguous ones, which is frankly a crazy person who's not ideological and represents nobody. But no, I mean, just it's like the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer was a punchline right of center.
True.
Literally, Kirk himself used it as a punchline. Elon himself has used it as a punchline. Trump himself has used it as a punchline. It's literally been a laugh line for all three of them. This guy was almost killed with a hammer by a guy who is somewhat ideological, also probably crazy, but certainly right of center.
I think he was like a QAnon or something
to torture
crazy.
Nancy Pelosi should she be home, right?
Yep.
This was not funny. And again, that level of callousness and recklessness and cruelty that you're worried about in using a term like Nazi indiscriminately, so much, there's been a fire hose of that on the right? Yes, there are people on the left who are dangerous idiots. I will be the first to admit, but it is different when it's coming from the Oval Office. It's different when it's coming from people. It's like for every one of those people, who, the Gen Z maniacs who made a video celebrating Kirk's death, there's an equivalent lunatic on the right who's much closer to power. Right? Like people who've got like Laura Loomer's phone number in their phone are crazy and dangerous. Right? I mean, like this is not. There's a fever swamp as you move right of center. And again, we'll talk about Tucker and Candace and Nick Fuentes. Like as you begin to move rightward and toward the weird, right? And you get into QAnon and you start glad-handing all the anti-Semites and conspiracy theorists, it gets very, very weird, very, very dark, and very, very well armed in a way that isn't mirrored on the left. And that's an important difference. I'm not worried about, who's gonna, if you tell me that Louis Vuitton is being looted in Beverly Hills, I'm pretty sure I know who's doing it. I'm not as worried about that.
If you're a trigonometry fan, you probably think before taking it, and it protects you from any first.
For the right. Sam, and just for the people watching, and you said that this was a George Floyd moment for the right, you weren't saying that Charlie Kirk and George Floyd are equivalent in who they were as people.
No, thank you for connecting that.
Yeah,
that would be helpful.
Apologies for.
Well, what? Well, what does that mean? What is the comparison there? What does he mean by that? It's dangerously close to saying like George Floyd deserved to be murdered by the cop or whatever.
The people are already typing them.
Yeah, because you know how people like to then, and then I don't need to explain that.
It was a George Floyd moment in the sense that the level of emotionality and lack of caution and lack of honesty around the messaging was equivalent. Right now, it's not, again, it different coming from different people and different levels with different implications. But yeah, I mean, what I saw at Kirk's memorial, some of it was fine, and some of it was actually beautiful and inspiring, and some of it was just a patent explosion of Christian nationalism and an appeal to theocracy, right? And
oh God!
And again, a kind of the
COVID.
I mean, Elon's tweet was all this in crystal form. It's like to say that the left is the party of murder, right? Which is going to be interpreted as not just the fringe of the fringe of the fringe, in some trans cult somewhere who happen to have guns. No, the left is synonymous in that statement with effectively the Democratic Party, right? I mean, just the mainstream political opponents of Trump. It's totally irresponsible, right? And that's a level of demonization. I mean, what we have to, to take this from the kind of the highest level. I mean, like this comment is true now, and it'll be true 50 years from now. What we have to surmount here to live sanely are two things: tribalism and dogmatism. I mean, like the tribalism and dogmatism are the generic, software flaws in our politics and in our culture and in our personal psychology, social psychology that make solving all of these collective problems impossible, right? I mean, and it just the antithesis of both of those things is intellectual honesty. I mean, one of the reasons why I criticize religion so much is that religion's the only area of culture where tribalism and dogmatism get this new gloss, and they seem like virtues. They can be made to pass as virtues, moral virtues, moral necessities, intellectual virtues. If we call the dogmatism of religion faith, right? When you don't have good reasons for what you believe, and you're immune to the good reasons of others that are countering your beliefs, and there's certain conversations you refuse to have because you've got these cherished beliefs that you want to guard from all streams of evidence or argument, right? We call that faith, but no, that's just dogmatism, right? In fact, the word dogmatism is it's a Catholic term, it's a Latin term. Dogma is a good word in Catholicism, right? I mean, it's not pejorative, but in the political space, tribalism and dogma, what's wrong with identity?
Okay, but isn't there also a way that you could say, look, some of these ideas are going to be bullshit, some of them are half-truths, some are going to be highly controversial, which in a few years' time, you look at in the cold light of day and was like, well, it was unpleasant, but it was true.
Okay, wait a minute.
Like stuff about COVID, for example.
Okay, but at the time, I called that correctly. Yeah, but everybody, I mean, that was so easy to see as an instance of left-wing, politically correct overreach, right? Like calling the lab leak hypothesis racist at the time. I mean, the very hour, the first instant of its happening, every sane person who's not indoctrinated into wokeism at that moment saw, okay, that's
Sam,
bullshit.
I don't think you're remembering this correctly, with all due respect. I remember, and just tell you our perspective as people who make videos on YouTube, right? That we were having conversations about, are we allowed to have this particular discussion about COVID or masks or vaccines or whatever?
Okay, that's a bigger conversation.
And the Wuhan thing, because if you'd said that was the case at the time you were not allowed to say it, YouTube would literally nuke your YouTube channel, right? So when Joe pushed back on it, which I am grateful to him for doing on that thing, he was leading the way in challenging some of this public health nonsense, right?
Okay, yeah, so yes, if you want me to say that some conspiracy theories are true, yes. So conspiracy theory, Alex Jones is going to get it right some of the time. That doesn't vindicate Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a madman who has created tremendous harm, full stop. It doesn't matter how long the list of things is that he was right about. I mean, he is endorsing every crazy conspiracy allegation. Some are going to be,
well, except the current Epstein ones.
So at some point, you're gonna say, oh yeah, this thing that seemed totally implausible and even irresponsible to entertain, turns out that was right. The CIA did do that.
But it's also on a more prosaic level, like school closures. We had Boris Johnson, our former Prime Minister, who actually said the school closures that went on in the UK were wrong and it damaged a whole generation of children. And maybe if there'd been more people to push back on that, were wrong and it damaged Prime Minister, who actually said the school closures that went on in the UK were wrong and it damaged a whole generation of children. And maybe if there'd been more people to push back on that, we could have actually dealt with it.
You can count on one hand. I mean, so the postmortem on COVID, I mean, I guarantee you that the postmortem on COVID that passes for truth in Joe's world is not true. Like, on Joe's account, COVID was just a cold. The vaccines were fucking dangerous, right? And may have killed a lot of people. And in Brett Weinstein's world, the vaccines killed millions of people, right? And et cetera, right? So all of that's upside down, right? Yes, there were some very clear moments where the mainstream political messaging or public health messaging was disastrously bad and or dishonest.
He's granting too much to this other side. We need to go back and look at what these messages were. All this disastrous messaging is bullshit. It's not true.
That was super consequential, and there were things were kept closed for much longer than they should have been. We were not nearly as flexible as we should have been in just understanding this was a moving object, and with each new variant, things were changing, and that the science is catching up to the problem, and there's lots of scientific uncertainty at every stage along the way, and there are people covering their ass, and it's not a pandemic, right? No. But it's just whatever. Again, if you just add up the indiscretions of people covering their ass and people not knowing what they're talking about, and it being a moving target, and us doing lots of stuff for the first time is really difficult, and lots of people also dying, and there being a real risk of the healthcare system collapsing. It explains 99% of how badly we handled it.
Yeah, I think he grants too much, but that's true, right? Take every single mistake that the healthcare system made and compare that to a single one of these comedian podcasters. It's not even close. These comedian podcasters got almost everything wrong. Almost everything wrong.
But the lessons being drawn from how badly we handled it, in many, many cases, are the wrong lessons. I mean, we're living in a land of hallucinations right of center around what should have been learned from COVID. I mean, again, COVID was a dress rehearsal for something quite a bit worse that we up the dress rehearsal, and I mean, I hope someone's learned actionable lessons that can be implemented in real time next time. But what I fear has happened is that as a culture, we're actually less prepared for a worse pandemic because of how badly we learned the lessons of our failure.
Well, no, I agree with you, and I think there is no doubt that COVID broke a lot of brains. And by the way, I can't speak for Joe, obviously, but I suspect if you speak to him, he'll feel that you went crazy over COVID. And if I speak to you,
I hate this pretending that. Well, I don't even know what you call this. I saw a guy yesterday walking outside. Me and Joe were standing next to him. I saw this guy. I thought he was like 5'9", And the other guy's like, I think this guy was like 20 feet tall. And you're like, okay. And then you go to tell a friend and he's like, well, you know, he probably thinks that you're wrong, just like you think he's wrong. And it's like, okay, but my guess is like within the realm of possibility. Like there are things that are factually true and things that are completely untrue. Just because we have a disagreement of an opinion doesn't mean that we both have a equally valid claim. Like it's such a stupid fucking point. Well, he'd probably think that you're crazy. Yeah, no shit, because he's a fucking lunatic. Is he fucking retarded?
Brains. And by the way, I can't speak for Joe, obviously, but I suspect if you speak to him, he'll feel that you went crazy over COVID.
Yeah,
and
no,
if I speak to
100%. He has no idea, but one of us is right.
Yes,
right?
thank you.
Again,
Sam and I are brain linked a lot. Okay, we just can't talk about Islam or Israel Palestine.
You could both be wrong.
No. Okay, I guarantee you that there is a consensus understanding around what happened during COVID that is not in Joe's brain or in the brain of most of his audience.
True.
And it's in broad strokes the best understanding we have. It's not to say that we know down to the last person who died of COVID, but within an order of magnitude, we know what happened, right? And that's not what Joe is saying about COVID.
Let me make the point I was going to make, which was more about why COVID affected a lot of people the way that it did, and broke people's brains is a strong statement. I use it because I do feel that happened. There was, and I'm not talking about Joe specifically. I just mean that a lot of people felt this way. Not felt this way. A lot of people ended up being much more conspiratorial coming out than they came in, right?
Because they thought the healthcare system lied, the real conspiracy.
We had this thing called public health, and we had this other thing called science, scientific truth, right? And we went so far over, and these two things are in tension, because if you're trying to communicate nuanced, complicated, ultimately unverifiable scientific theories or hypotheses to a public with an average IQ who are in panic and fear, scared for their lives, they're being fed all kinds of crazy stuff in the media, you have to take the scientific truth. And this is best case scenario. This is why people being corrupt without Fauci having funded the lab in China, all of this other stuff, right? Just in a perfect world. And you have to condense that complex scientific truth into public health messaging.
Yeah, and which is a political process.
And that process ended up going so far over to public health. And then you add on top of all other things that happened, cover-ups of certain things that we now know to be true, or as best we can, like where COVID came from, etc. There are a lot.
Oh, kill me. One day I will get to unleash my fucking my lab load. my lab lab leak fucking debate stuff one day on one of these motherfuckers.
People went, well, this thing you told me in the interest of public health was actually just you lying, right? Because it turned out not to be true.
Not to mention, like, where the coronavirus originated from is like the least consequential thing of all of the mRNA vaccines, and was it a pandemic? Like, it's the least consequential thing of everything.
But in many of those cases, it was not just people lying.
I know, I know. But if you're being bombarded with messages and told you're a terrible person for not believing them, and you then discover that those messages were actually false, most people are going to say, I have been lied to.
So now I'm going to believe people who've been wrong about 90% of what they've said.
Right? And so we've ended up in a very conspiratorial world, partly, I think, because of what happened during COVID. And by the way, if you lock people in their homes for 2 years, some of them are going to loop it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's like part of the burden.
Ooh, that's true. Lock people in their homes for a while, they go loopy. You should bring that back to the BLM, right?
But our public health authorities couldn't effectively shoulder was that they were messaging into a polluted information landscape that was poised to be this conspiratorial and this distrustful of authority. And in large measure, independent media is culpable for that. I mean, it's the Candace Owens of the world and the Joes of the world who were calling bullshit where things were actually bullshit, and calling bullshit on absolutely standard science. And I mean, the people who Joe had on his podcast again and again, Brett Weinstein and all the other ivermectin cultists, that was genuinely harmful, right? It's not that they were wrong about everything, but they were wrong about most things, and it was dangerous.
Yep.
But what about the vaccine, when you have people coming out going, if you take the vaccine, you're not going to be able to pass it?
Such a fucking lie. Please, Sam Harris, please know anything about this. All of these statements were lies. Nobody said this, and it doesn't even match was it IRI or Hutch that gave me the fucking meme example at the time. Nobody thought that if you got vaccinated, it would protect you 100%. Nobody thought that. Conservatives have mentally rewritten history to think that people thought that, but nobody at the time thought that. Nobody thought that.
There was a moment that, before we had a vaccine, Republicans and Democrats died at the same rate. Once we had a vaccine, Republicans died more than Democrats.
That's true.
That's bizarre. Shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's political. That's consequence of political. Yeah, that's political messaging.
Obesity, age, all of that.
As far as
Republicans tend to be older.
Yeah.
Right? But it was not factoring
I believe that's it's just purely a matter of vaccine hesitancy.
So your claim is, just so that I understand, what you're saying is right of center people got anti-vax messaging, didn't take the vaccine, and all other things being equal, died at a higher rate.
Right.
That's your claim.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, Joe was a super spreader of those ideas. Right. So the last I looked, and I haven't looked at these data for some months, but within the last, I think I did a podcast a couple of months ago, and the authority who I had on at the time, Mark Lipsitch, I believe, signed off on these numbers. I mean, do you have these numbers? I mean, how many people in the United States do you think died from COVID? How many do you think were saved by the vaccine? How many do you think died who shouldn't have died based on vaccine hesitancy?
I don't know.
Right. Okay,
I don't think there's any way of knowing, if I'm going to be honest with you, Sam.
Well, no, there's a way of, there's not a way of knowing exactly, but there's a way of knowing. You can triangulate on these numbers in many, but based on excess deaths and just reported deaths. And I mean, the epidemiology of this is not mysticism. I mean, there's a scientific understanding of just how people die and how many people are likely to die in any given society in any given moment. We're not off by a factor of 10, right? Let's say we're off by 20%, but we're not. This is not like we think X and it's really 1/10 of X, right? Something like 1.2 million Americans died from COVID, right? Now,
from or with?
COVID is the reason they died.
Okay.
Right? Not that they got hit by a bus and they also had COVID.
Okay.
Now, that's not the bubonic plague in the 14th century, but it's also not a cold, right? It's, most of those people were old. Most of those people are not fit young men who didn't want to take the vaccine because they heard about the heightened risk of myocarditis, right? I mean, there was all kinds of wrinkles there. It mattered, how old you were, in addition to being obese, et cetera. But this was a real health challenge before we got the vaccines. Now, how many people do we think died because of vaccine hesitancy, who wouldn't have died had everyone who could have gotten the vaccine gotten vaccinated? That number's around 300,000 right now.
Numbers taken from peer-reviewed analysis by the Kaiser Family Foundation that cites over 232,000 preventable COVID-19 deaths in the U.S.
That's a lot of people. Again, most of those people are almost certainly old. They're not 4-year-olds. I mean, it's like 1,000 kids or something like 1,000 kids died from COVID. But 300,000 people, it used to be a lot of people. Now,
it's a huge number.
Yeah, but so what did it mean to have the world's largest podcast basically endlessly messaging against the vaccine? I mean, Joe can say he's not anti-vax, but the primary message around the COVID vaccine and COVID itself, coming from his podcast and coming from the so-called experts he had on, was that the vaccines are fucking dangerous, man. The vaccines, again, Brett Weinstein told us that the vaccine is likely to kill something like 17 million people.
Yep.
I saw a credible estimate of something like 17 million deaths globally.
What a stupid fucking dipshit.
So
this guy's one of the most retarded people in the history of all of retards.
Million deaths from the COVID vax? Well, when you scale up to billions, it's not hard to reach a number like that with a technology that's dangerous.
Zero evidence of anything like that happening. Right? That is a complete hallucination. So it was a problem that some of the biggest podcasts in the world, and it's not just Joe, but Joe's was certainly among the biggest, had an appetite for this contrarian take on everything, such that let's just stick a mic in front of RFK Jr. I mean, he might be president. RFK, tell us what you think, right? He is a confabulation machine, right? It's some of it's lying, some of it's delusion, some of it's I don't know what is wrong with the person. But
I get your point, Simon. I think you make look in terms of let me tell you what we said on trigonometry about this, and it's relevant to the point I'm going to make. I said specifically, I don't remember, Francis can speak for himself. If I were elderly or overweight, I'd definitely take the vaccine. And given that I've had COVID twice, I probably have a lot of natural immunity, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of left it there. And it's ultimately up to you. Speak to your doctor. The most important thing is that you take professional advice on this. That's what we always said, right?
And if you've got comorbidity.
Yeah. But if I were 75 years old and morbidly obese, I'd be taking the vaccine. That's what we said repeatedly, right?
I mean, just to give you a point of reference, that's my view of it as well. Like I haven't been vaccinated in years.
I wasn't finished, and it's relevant, right? But what I also said is government tyranny that we experienced in relation to the pandemic was an outrage. What an outrage.
Well, at what point was it an outrage? Not in the
second lockdown onwards.
Right. Okay.
In our country. So in our country, we locked down the first time. Then it became very, very clear that lockdowns don't actually work, right? And do a lot of harm.
That's crazy, because I thought that the countries that were the strictest on lockdowns basically completely eliminated transmission. I thought we saw this in New Zealand and Australia, but...
And we kept locking down, and we kept wearing these fucking masks that don't work, and all this other nonsense. Complete garbage.
Right.
While being told, no, the virus didn't come from a lab in China. No, Fauci is the best guy ever. All of this other stuff.
I get it. I mean, it's,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that being the case, the question, a lot of people will agree with what you're saying. A lot of people will disagree with what you're saying. But the question for me is, what do you think should be the case? Because my view is people are free, and they can listen to information, and they can make their own decisions. They can listen to trigonometry and go, Constantine and Francis think you should probably speak to your doctor. They can listen to Joe and get whatever perspective they get from that, and they can make their own decision. That sounds quite dangerous, but I worry that whatever it is that is the opposite of that is also really dangerous, where you are now deciding that, it's a pandemic, therefore these people shouldn't, I don't know what it is that you think should have happened, other than perhaps calling on Joe to, as you said, take more responsibility. But what else should happen in relation to this? What's the answer?
Well, it depends on how bad the disease is. And
so what should have happened during COVID?
Well, we should have acknowledged that we are catching up to reality, right? Like we didn't understand how it was spreading. I mean, there was that period where we thought, it was spreading based on contact with packages. We're all wiping down packages, fomite transmission, right? It took a while to even acknowledge that it was airborne. And therefore it took a while to acknowledge that lockdowns would be less effective and maybe even totally ineffective. It took a while to understand that.
Why would a lockdown be ineffective if it was airborne? Wouldn't that make a lockdown more effective because you're keeping people away from each other? What?
It wasn't that bad for kids and was pretty damn bad for the elderly. Many diseases are the opposite of that, or at least they hit kids and the elderly kind of equally.
I think the Spanish flu actually targeted the young more than it did the elderly.
Yeah. So if the bodies of elementary school children had been stacking up like cordwood, we would have had a very different risk tolerance, and we would have been right to have a very different risk tolerance. The lockdown would have been far more like China, however ineffectual that would have been. It remains to be seen what we should do given the specifics as we come to understand them. And at every point along the way, we should have figured out how to message around scientific uncertainty better than we did. But the problem, again, is
ascribing malice.
We're messaging into a space that is super conspiratorial, hyper-partisan, where people are using any expression of uncertainty as a means to discredit the authority, right? Like so. I mean, this is the asymmetric warfare that has always been true. Whenever a scientist gets on, it used to be CNN, not so much anymore because nobody's watching. But you got 6 minutes on CNN as a scientist to talk about climate change or anything. The moment you begin to calibrate your statement with the completely normal degree of scientific caution and uncertainty and humility appropriate to a scientific presentation among scientists, to the general public, it sounds like, oh, this guy. You could drive a truck through all the holes in this guy's account, right? Like even he says he's not sure, right? So why am I going to take the vaccine, right? So I mean, we're in some. So the political imperative of public health messaging has to deal with the fact that on some level it's very easy to see how a feeling of paternalism creeps in because you're worried about people taking the nuanced truth the wrong way, right? And that invites, again, this temptation should never be taken. But it invites the prospect of a noble lie or a noble half-truth, right? Which again is a disaster. But it's easy to see how people get lured in that direction because they're talking to Candace Owens, right? I mean, on some level, like when you look at what Candace herself was doing on Twitter around COVID, it was madness.
Did you know that the biggest threat to
Trump is? Does anybody have that compilation of Trump saying? When did COVID start spreading? Hold on. Okay, so what, like January of 2020, basically? That's when it started blowing up everywhere? This is October 10th of 2020. In the early days, in like March and April, am I hallucinating this, or was Trump not saying that there's no infections in the United States? It's basically in his first speech after his hospitalization for COVID-19, President Donald Trump stood on a White House balcony on October 10th and made a grand declaration about the coronavirus. It's going to disappear. It's disappearing. This is October 10th in 2020. His words might have sounded more dramatic had he not been saying the same thing for 8 months. Trump has stuck to the refrain no matter what has been happening with the pandemic. Since February, the president has declared at least 38 times that COVID-19 is either going to disappear or is currently disappearing. His proclamation has been wildly inaccurate. When Trump first started making the claim in February, it was about the time the U.S. had just suffered its very first known COVID-19 death. More than 220,000 deaths later, Trump continues to falsely claim the virus will somehow just go away, even as the U.S. experiences yet another surge in cases and hospitalizations. February of 2020. You know, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat. As the heat comes in, typically that will go away in April. China is working very, very hard. I've spoken to President Xi, and they're working very hard. And if you know anything about them, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. They've had a rough patch, and I think right now they have it. It looks like they're getting it under control and more. They're getting it more and more under control. So I think that's a problem that's going to go away. This is February of 2020. When you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, that's a pretty good job we've done. February 26th. It's going to disappear one day. It's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. This is February of 2020. U.S. cases beginning to rise. March 2nd, 2020. 5 average new cases daily. 8, 13, 23, 32. On March 6th, I don't think people are panicking. I said last night, we did an interview on Fox last night in a town hall. I think it was very good. And I said, calm. You have to be calm. It'll go away. March 9th. We're prepared, and we're doing a great job with it, and it will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. March 10th. On March 12th, we need a little separation until such time as this goes away. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. March 30th, stay calm, it will go away. You know it is going away, and it will go away. We're going to have a great victory. These are all not found now, I don't know why, but it's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month. And if not, hopefully it will be soon after that. Does anybody have I think there's a Twitter video compilation of this. It's going to go away, it's going away. It is going away in April. It did go, it will go away.
People think that goes away in April with the heat, as the heat comes in. Typically that will go away in April. We're in great shape though. I think that's a problem that's going to go away, but we lost almost 1,000 points yesterday on the market. This ends. This is going to end. Hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. When you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, that's a pretty good job we've done. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. Last night, we did an interview on Fox last night, a town hall. I think it was very good. And I said, calm. You have to be calm. It'll go away. And it hit the world. And we're prepared, and we're doing a great job with it. And it will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. It goes away. It's going away. We want it to go away with very, very few deaths. It will go away. You know it is going away. And it will go away. And we're going to have a great victory. But I think what happens is it's going to go away. This is going to go away. And whether it comes back in a modified form in the fall, we'll be able to handle it. We'll be able to put out spurts, and we're very prepared to handle it.
A lot of movement, a lot of progress has been made in a vaccine, but I think what happens is it's going to go away. This is going to go away. And whether it comes back in a modified form, that's what I say. We'll be able to handle it.
Vaccine, sir, why do you think the virus will just be gone?
It's going to go. It's going to leave. It's going to be gone. It's going to be eradicated. Because, this virus is going to disappear, and it'll go.
It might take longer. It might be in smaller sections. It won't be what we had. And we also learned a lot.
Go away at some point. It'll go away. It may flare up, and it may not flare up. We'll have to see what happens. And it is dying out. The numbers are starting to get very good. And we're doing so well after the plague. It's going away. I think that
in June, July. I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine. Oh, I remember that. Oh, shit. Core memory unlocked. I remember that, too. When people were saying the cases seem to be increasing, Mr. President, is like, well, that's just because we're testing more. And since we're testing more, we're finding more. So, it's actually not that the cases are increasing. It's just that we have more tests now than we used to have. I remember this. Oh, my God. Stop the tests. Stop the count. We think we're going to have a vaccine in the pretty near future, and if we do, we're going to really be a big step ahead, and if we don't, we're going to be like so many other cases. We had a problem come in, it'll go away. At some point, it'll go away. It may flare up, it may not flare. Yeah, it's just so fucking retarded.
At some point, that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope. I'll be right eventually. I will be right eventually. I said it's going to disappear. I'll say it again. It's going to disappear. And I'll be right. I don't think so. Right. I don't think so. You know why it doesn't disappear? Because I've been right probably more than anybody else. I say it's going to disappear. They say, oh, that's terrible. You say, well, it's true. It's going to disappear. Before it disappears, I think we can knock it out before it disappears. That's what I want.
Sir, you said in an interview this morning on the coronavirus, this thing's going away. It'll go away like things go away. It's like ongoing cases. Isn't that just you want to put reality?
It's going away. No, it'll go away like things go away. Absolutely. It is going to disappear. It's going to disappear.
disappear. I still say don't take action, correct? No, I still say it's going to disappear, George. It's probably going to go away now a lot faster because of the vaccine. It would go away without the vaccine, George, but it's going to go away a lot faster with without the vaccine. Sure, over a period of time. Sure, with time, it goes many deaths. It's going to disappear. It is disappearing, and with vaccines are going to help, and the therapeutics, it will go away. And as I say, we're rounding the turn. We're rounding the corner. It's going away. And a safe vaccine that eradicates the virus and quickly ends the pandemic. Normal life will fully resume. That's all we want. We want normal life.
We reached out to the White House and asked if they had any response to the president's continued use of such language. Here is what they said. Quote, President Trump's actions have ensured that our country will defeat the virus and safely reopen. The risks today are dramatically lower than they were only a few months ago, with mortality rates falling over 80%. Operation Warp Speed has led to treatments to help patients recover quickly and soon. We'll have a safe and effective vaccine with up to 100 million doses this year and hundreds of millions early next year. The Trump administration has also surged testing, PPE, personnel, and capacity to protect the vulnerable, help schools reopen, and respond to conditions on the ground.
Wow.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks.
Now that's what I call a cool story, bro. By the way, Trump said he was going to lie about this, and that was all the point, was to lie about this.
We are following this breaking news, startling new revelations about when and what President Trump allegedly knew about the coronavirus. According to a new book by Bob Woodward, the president knew of the dangers of the coronavirus weeks before the first death in the U.S. And instead of warning the American people, the president decided to play the virus down. Woodward recorded 2 separate conversations he had with the president for the book, one from February, the other from March. Here's some of what the president told him as obtained by CNN.
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff. Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Now, I don't think Fauci ever said as strong a statement about the masks as people say he did. But remember, the whole reason why all these center-right fucking losers are like, well, we don't trust Fauci because he lied about the masks to protect the public health. Well, here's Donald Trump like literally admitting to that in a worse, much more harmful manner, but nobody gives a fuck, right?
Bob Woodward will appear on 60 Minutes this Sunday, September 13th.
Epic and based. Why is my screen turning blue? Why is it not disappearing? Check out this news story OG. I'm good.
The thing is, Sam, with the Hunter Biden thing, I think that for many people, it wasn't actually about corruption at all. What it was about was the cover-up. What it was about was the fact that the news story about his laptop couldn't be shared.
Well, we disagree about the...
For one day, by the way. And the news story could be shared. You just weren't allowed to repost pictures from it. So...
we don't really disagree about the optics of the cover-up, but we disagree about the mechanics of it. I think a lot of this was good faith fumbling around a story that couldn't be characterized quickly enough. And given what had happened previously, given that we know that Jim Comey's reopening of the email, the Hillary Clinton email non-story, was decisive in her losing that election. I mean, you could just see that her poll numbers go down by the hour the moment he started talking about it. That was like 10 days before the election. And we know this time around, Rudy Giuliani held on to this bombshell as an October surprise and released it strategically close to the election. I think there were 2 weeks left in the election, knowing that there was simply enough time for the Democrats and the mainstream media to have a spaz attack and not get to ground truth on this laptop. Again, from my point of view, this is what I said in that original podcast. I don't think it made it to that nefarious clip, but for me at the time, and it still is, a genuine coin toss journalistic judgment about what to do with this story 2 weeks before the
Journalistic
election.
judgment, yes, but this wasn't journalistic
Okay,
judgment. This was big tech judgment.
Well, no, so there
big
was
tech censorship.
There was Twitter knocking the New York Post off for whatever 48 hours or 24 hours,
and preventing the story from being shared.
Right.
24.
That I think almost certainly is a mistake, however you look at it. And I believe I said that at the time. I mean, I thought there were gradations of this. There's what Twitter did, there's what the New York Times did or didn't do, etc. But I think it was. I mean, for instance, all those former intelligence officials who signed that open letter saying this looks like Russian disinformation. I don't think those guys were lying. I think those guys were genuinely thought this is completely crazy.
It is crazy. The story is crazy. I'm still not fully sold on it, by the way.
Rudy Giuliani with a laptop he got from some computer store, and it's got everything. It's got the smoking ruins of Hunter Biden's reputation. This certainly looks sketchy. I don't think those guys volunteered to have their reputations destroyed in plain view of everyone, just to eke out an advantage for Hillary Clinton.
Why not?
Well, just who does that? Who says, listen?
Where's your evidence? Do you have any evidence whatsoever for that? A single shred of evidence that 50 plus people were all roped in to signing a bullshit, a single shred of evidence. Actually, you shouldn't even say that. The first thing is, isn't that a weird story? Is that not like a pretty crazy story?
Just to eke out an advantage for Hillary Clinton.
Why not?
Well, just who does that? Who says, listen, I'm going to take my reputation for discernment as the former head of the CIA or the NSA or both. I'm going to, again, I don't remember the signatories to that letter specifically, but I mean, who's going to, it's just not in their, it's not in their interest. It's not likely to be decisive. It's just, and it so obviously looked kooky, right? It looked completely, I mean, this did not look like a normal way you would discover the smoking laptop from hell. And again, there was simply not, to have simply played connect the dots journalistically and even from Twitter's point of view, just slavishly just propagating this information or misinformation to the ends of the earth at that moment with the clock ticking, given what had happened in the previous election, journalistically, it could have seemed totally irresponsible. I mean, in hindsight, Jim Comey's re-airing of that fake email scandal was totally irresponsible. It's why we had President Trump in the first place. He couldn't have known that at the time, perhaps, but in retrospect, it would have been better had he not done that.
True.
So I have to think, again, I'm not close. And the other thing that was weird about that interview is people took what I was saying as somehow insider knowledge that there was this vast conspiracy to keep, of journalists and academics and scientists and media figures that we all met in a star chamber somewhere to keep Trump from getting reelected. I mean, if that happened, I wasn't privy to it, right? So that's not what I was saying. What I was saying I mean, there were a few places there where I went back and watched it because I needed to, once this thing was detonating in my life and I could see how radioactive it was being perceived to be, I had to see what I'd actually said in context. And there was at least one moment where I got interrupted and didn't complete a sentence. And so like my half sentence and the thrust of what I was saying before that made it seem like I was making a more extreme statement than I was in fact making. So, but my views are unchanged from that hour. So I mean, I'm happy to talk about anything.
If you were interrupted, it would almost certainly have been me.
Yeah,
so I apologize.
It was, but
let me just recap it, very quickly summarize what you're saying. So what you're saying is basically a number of things. Number one, journalistically, in terms of publishing the story, you call it a coin toss. It looked kind of kooky. Therefore, is this a reasonable thing to publish with 2 weeks to go before an election, before you can properly check it, etc.? Number one. Number two, you didn't agree with social media companies preventing the story from being published or shared, right? And you feel that if we're talking about the corruption element of it, what you were trying to say with an outrageous example is no matter how corrupt Hunter Biden turns out to have been, that will not be as bad as the Trump corruption. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, well, especially because we're talking about Hunter Biden. I don't care about Hunter Biden.
Well, Hunter Biden did get a lot of money from a Ukrainian company in which he was employed.
Did that make Hunter Biden not Hunter Biden?
Some sort of expert
hold that up against what any of the Trumps have done in the last hour.
Not
so I mean,
close.
it's just there's just no end.
True.
It was clear they were already these people, right, from the first time around and from years previous. There's just no. I mean, what the magic of Trump is that because the one thing you can say about him that is sounds like praise, but in fact isn't, is that he's not a hypocrite, right? He's not a hypocrite because he's not pretending to be a good person, right? He's not pretending to follow any of the norms by which hypocrisy would normally be measured, right? So,
was any of the money he got received in a corrupt manner? Hunter Biden? None. There's no proof of that, at least.
The reason why this is kind of superpower is that there's nothing more galling, at least at this moment in our politics, than hypocrisy, especially left-wing hypocrisy. So the moment you can find that, a Democrat didn't floss his teeth when he said he did, right? All of a sudden, that's a 20 megaton scandal. Trump can just, basically like he's like the Dan Bilzerian of politics, right? Like there's no pretense of being ethical or monogamous or so I'm going to just show you how I live like a maniac, and you're not going to be able to measure any specific indiscretion because I don't view any of them as indiscretions, and they're not going to be. It all then functions by different reputational physics. So you find him to have done something that's 10 times worse than the thing you say you care about on the other side of the aisle, and for some reason
no one cares.
It doesn't register, right? So he's created a political culture, right of center, where the very concept of corruption doesn't even exist anymore. The very concept of a conflict of interest or self-dealing, it's completely evaporated.
So this is one of the things I really am keen to discuss with you. Let's move on from the first podcast and what happened. And
I feel like these guys aren't fighting on anything Sam is saying. Sam is just like saying a bunch of stuff and then they just move on to the next thing. Can you turn on the Vestaboard, please? They're working on it, okay? My crack team of DGG devs are working on it.